Here's a message of importance to millions of people who are continually pale and washed out, weak and run down. Doctors will tell you that these conditions are often caused by a deficiency of iron. The iron you need to keep you physically fit and mentally alert.
Hello?
Medical studies show that 2 out of 3
Am I really late?
and many men
No worries, man. We're just getting it rolling
It's
right
all
now.
good.
lack the daily iron your body requires.
No
I
worries.
thought it was in like 3 hours. I just saw a reminder on YouTube. Like,
Every dose gives you more than your daily minimum iron requirement.
We are not alone. We are striving for more.
So if you're not getting the iron your body needs, if you feel weak, run down, and are easily upset, start taking iron today.
It's Friday, my dudes.
Oh yeah, TGIF, everybody. Welcome to Have No Fear, right here in the Iron Realm Media YouTube channel. My name is Josh Corey, and I think we're going to pull one off tonight. I think we might squeeze it out one way or another. So welcome. Let's jump right in and say hello to everybody. Let's start off with Mr. Zachary Zabala, because he's here before even I am. You might know him as Good Times for All here on the YouTubes. Zach, happy Friday, sir.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, good day. I guess, it rained all day, but got some stuff done, so any progress is good progress. Yeah, I'm ready to roll.
That's right. It's progress, not perfection. That's right. So we can move right along and say hello to Mr. Lucas King. He's got a little channel with a really confusing name called LC King here on YouTube. Lucas, happy Saturday morning to you, sir.
How's that confusing?
It's not. It's super easy. I guess it's the sarcasm when you say it's confusing. It's really confusing.
I'm good. Hope everyone's well. I'm working my way into the morning as usual on Have No Fear.
Well, that serves you
I'm
right,
looking forward to the show.
because we're usually working our way into the mornings whilst you're rolling down your nights.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday and Friday morning over there on Truth Frequency Radio, TFRlive.com with Ironworks, where you and I and Zach and another feller, we do a little show with a couple times a week, bright and early in the morning for us. Well, dark and early in the morning for us, but just heading down to the dark side for you too. So, yeah, check us out over there. Let's say hello to that fourth man over there on the Ironworks, Mr. Walter Johnson. His channel here on YouTube is a Flat Earth Head. Happy Friday, Walt.
Hi, happy Friday to you all. If you don't have a lap full of cats, what are you doing with your life? Okay, guys, you have got to get out. Sorry, apparently they heard showtime start, and they know that's when Daddy settles in, and here they are every time. So, yes, I've become that dude, the cat man. Anyway, I'm good. It's Friday. We had a good show this morning, and despite the second time zone flood, we were actually able to get a guy in here. So, rather than hear me ramble, because I do that a lot here, you can move on to some other lovely folks who joined us.
Yes, lads, I believe we are down to Mrs. Cammie Nodell. Cammie's channel here on YouTube is Aisling717. I only get to talk to Cammie here on these Friday nights, so it's an absolute honor and a privilege to have her here. Cammie, how are you, my dear?
Hey, I am doing really good, taking 3 steps forward for every 2 steps back, which is better than the backwards way I was going. Oktoberfest is coming right up on us, and so like new toys and ideas for the presentations are coming in, and excitement is starting to build. Getting ready for people at the house, and again, it's been a really, really, really rainy, miserable week, but I did get some stuff done earlier on quite a bit. And next week is supposed to be sunshine and beautiful. So going forward.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. Shout out to iHeart Fairies 82 there in chat, saying hi. Yes. Full stop. Which brings us to our guest. Which, since I'm going to blame Lucas, I'll make Lucas do this. Since he's the one, I'm going to blame him for messing up time zones, because why not?
That's okay. Sure.
Why not?
So we've got Campbell from Autodidactic. Thanks for being here, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me again. Glad I made it. I think I got the time the other way around, and I thought it was in like 3 hours. And
Dude, we did this last time. I don't know if you remember, but yeah, same thing. I said, Lucas, what time would it be for our good old buddy Cam there? Oh, it'll be whatever time. I'm like, cool, type. And then we waited and like, oh, dude, we screwed this up bad. And sure enough, when he said he'd reach out, it never occurred to me like, wait, Lucas is the one that gave me the wrong time zone last time. Maybe we need to get together on this. Never thought about it. Never occurred to me.
What I did is I gave what time I start. So
I think that's what we did last time. I gave him the time you started. That's the exact thing we did last time. So
I don't know how I got that wrong.
I'm not taking the blame here, as you can see.
No, it's you, brother. We go pound it on. Anyway, welcome, Cam. So glad you're back, man. It's always a blast to have you. How you doing?
Yeah, good.
You awake? Actually awake?
I'm just awake. Yeah. My 21-year-old cat actually sat at my door and screamed for 20 minutes and woke me up. So that's why I'm here.
That alarm.
Well, there you go. You know,
the cats know.
The cats know. Yeah.
These cats the cats here send out the signal across the cats to the world. Tell Cam to wake up, man. Oh yeah, we got it.
Sent the big cat face into the sky.
That's it.
So what have you been getting into lately, man? Where's your research been leading you since the last time we talked to you?
Gosh, every way. I've been doing a lot of Australia stuff, looking at a lot of stuff in Australia. I mean, I'm looking at everything. I'm also looking a lot at the the extra land and up north, and the Aurora Linda book. It's called the Aurora Linda book, which is like a sort of Scandinavian book from the 1300s that talks a lot about mentions Atlantis and where people went Atlantis, and gives you the date when Atlantis sunk in it, and then it tells you all their movements, and it says that they're the ones that built all these star forts that we see all over the place and all these cities. So it's just a bit of a study. So I've got so much going on. I've got my regulars with Bernie as well, where we're going into the whole free energy and trying to sort of uncover the antiquity and work out how it all works. And we're, not me, but the smarter people are building motors and things. So yeah, everything pretty much. Just trying to keep up.
Yeah, exactly. It's been such an avalanche over the last few years, trying to keep up with everything. It drives you mad to try to do all of it. I've noticed a lot more people starting to cover this topic too. It is really taken off. I'm seeing a lot more channels that are focusing on this, going out and showing buildings and researching old pictures, and you guys have lit a huge fuse here.
It's really starting to take off. It's starting to get into the all the sort of channel-y type people and tarot readers and all that sort of scene. They're all talking Tartaria now too. So it's so that's kind of what me and I've been doing some shows with Kelly, you can see behind me, Tartaria Australia. We're sort of looking at trying to get into different audiences, you know, and really start to try and get this information out there, because, you know, we've got a good audience, but we don't want to just keep sharing between ourselves, do we? We want to starting to spread this. I mean, it even crossed my mind I might have to do it Dave Weiss style and start calling people up. So
just be like, hey,
Tartarian smacking.
yeah, that's almost what it takes for a lot of these people is, you know, someone to come and actually hold their hand and walk them through all the research you've done. And be like, no, you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you. Let me show you. Yeah.
That could be
good.
Yeah,
that's right. And the way Dave does it, you know, he goes through all the proofs, and you could basically do exactly the same thing with the mud flood stuff. And it's just like, you know, and there is so much evidence for it, but you could just pick the cream of the crop type thing and walk people through it. I mean, it's just there's a good reason why it's taking off, because it's so fascinating. You know, our actual history plus, you know, old technology, and, you know, we've been told the basic lie that our modern society is the pinnacle of how we're supposed to be. And that framework, you know, once you get headspace out of that framework of what we've been told, and it gives an opportunity for progression, basically. So
I just saw this thing about the Pyramid of the Sun, Campbell. Have you looked into that? The one down in Mexico?
The one in Mexico? There's a few of them. Is that the one in Teotihuacan?
I think so. It's the biggest one.
Yeah, it's the biggest pyramid on the
that we know of.
In volume, I don't think it's as tall as the one in Giza, but in volume, it's the biggest. Yeah. What are they saying about it?
That some of the material that is put into the walls that this stuff is built with. Oh, I don't want to say the wrong one. I can't think of what it is. It's a certain type of stone. But it had to be mined. The closest mine is 3,200 miles away.
Ooh.
Like, in southern Brazil or something like that. Like, far, far away. And they're like, okay, wait a minute here. Something's wrong here. Why would they bring this certain stone? And it's not like decoration or anything like that. It's insulating and conducting, and it's all doing all these different things under different conditions. And these things were electrical in nature. You know, when we build things today this big, what are they? They're power plants and dams to make electricity, and I think that's all these are. They knew how to harness the electricity from the air, though, you know, the ether. Just all that electricity up there, and they gathered it somehow.
Definitely. 100%. I mean, there's no other reason why, you know, the Great Pyramid, they've got like slabs of granite in there that are 100 ton for no reason. You know, no reason as far as the story we're given. If you look at it like a machine, then there's every reason for it to be there. And if it wasn't, then it wouldn't work. So, you know, clearly this whole story of, you know, I don't know, 40,000 slaves, you know, dragged a few rocks around and made a big triangle and put their king under it. I mean, that's a bit silly, really.
But they had logs, Cam. They had logs to roll them around on. Come on, dude. Haven't you seen the movies?
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
That's why there's no trees left. Yeah.
Right. I hate to stop the flow already, but there's apparently some music coming from somewhere. I'm not hearing it, but it's been mentioned in chat a couple of times. Does someone have music in their room?
I'm not hearing anything.
I don't hear it either.
It's probably restream. Let me just make sure it's not restream and get rid of that.
Have they got headphones on?
It's apparently 70s porn music, and it's quite distracting, which that can be. I mean, you know, waka, waka, waka.
Just chill.
I promise it's not my wah pedal. It's unplugged in there. So
I haven't got nothing playing.
I don't even have videos playing in the background or anything. I'm not sharing screen. I don't know, guys. Y'all.
Yeah, no, it's me. I'm not really.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, there was really very little question as to who it was.
Oh, you got 70s porn music playing in the background, Josh.
You know, I didn't want to go there, Lucas, because you heard this morning's show. So
yeah.
It's It's chill hop. Thank you very much.
Chill hop.
Okay.
Thank
According
you.
to
Chill hop.
Restream, this is their chill hop track.
Nice. That's a
Chill
thing to
hop.
call it. That's what I'll start calling it. Anyway, stop.
Yeah.
All right.
Didn't
getting
music progress, right? From the sock hop to the hip hop, man.
I heard a Belle Biv DeVoe song today. Poison. I
That's
was
a
like, no
flashback.
way, dude. Yeah, there's this one channel that plays all. I heard Boys to Men the other day. It was like, yes. It takes me way back.
Yeah. When music
So
was
what-
music, eh?
Yeah, what kind of music did you grow up to?
Hey,
Like, Yeah,
Oh.
were you
Yeah.
any
probably,
certain
probably
genre?
the same. I'm probably older than Lucas, though, but you know, we back in the '80s, like we didn't really. I mean, we had other bands, but we had such a big Australian music scene. It was all, you know, like Midnight Oil, AC/DC.
I was
the
about to say, I
Untouchables.
bet Midnight Oil, dude. I used to dig them. I dug them when they hit
Mm.
that song here. I got the album and I loved it. It's been years since
Yeah.
I've had a copy of it, but
Yeah, Aussie rock. See, that's the thing with Midnight Oil. When they broke, that they were 10 years old in Australia. More that they were around since the late '70s. And like Mental as Anything. Who was I listening to last night? The Down Under guys. Men at Work.
oh, dude,
They had some good stuff.
Colin's voice is one of the most haunting, amazing voices in music, period, let alone rock music. Dude. His
He's-
voice, like chilling, thinking about it chills me up. He's amazing. I love that dude.
Yeah, good lyricist too. He wrote some really good songs. So there was just a lot. Yeah, just Australian stuff. There was so much good Australian stuff that as I got older, I got into the whole,
Now,
heavy
do they
metal and
have?
all that.
I don't know. Do they have Australian country and Australian rap?
Yeah, we have country. We've got Slim Dusty, and what's the other one? True Blue. We've got a few, but it's
Slim Dusty. I'm
So-
Googling it right after the show.
Dusty, man. And so we've got it. Yeah, we do. There is like a country and western scene, and then they wear cowboy hats and stuff. But it's probably a different sound to your guys. But that's the thing. Like that sort of population in Australia is not very big. It's really just sort of what is it, inland Victoria, New South Wales, and a bit of Queensland, I guess, where in the USA it's a massive population. So we're coastal dwellers, mostly.
And then for
Yeah,
hip hop,
we had a kick-ass music scene for sure.
It was
even
awesome.
up into the 90s and stuff. You had tons of bands, and then you'd have the Triple J radio station. They would actually unearth these bands and sort of promote them, and really sort of got to work to really push the music scene. And then it's
like it got
sort of petered
dismantled.
out. Yeah.
Like on
Yeah, it did.
purpose. Like we used to have Rage, like every Saturday, Sunday. It was just music clips for 4 or 5 hours. Just no comment, just music clips back to back.
Yep.
And you just see everything and massive. And I think it was the pubs. It was a massive pub scene. Pub rock. And then of course they started bringing in the pokies, right? Oh, you can make more money if you fill your pub up with pokies, and then the bands don't get the work, and it all just started.
Yeah.
Because literally all Australian bands came up through pubs, all of them in the sort of 70s and 80s. And you take that scene away, and then how do you find the bands?
Yep. Yeah, that's how you started. You'd go and play at your local pub, and then, if you were decent, you'd go to the next one, and you could just start, and bands would just start touring around like that.
Literally, In Excess started like that in Perth. In my hometown, they started playing the pubs, and look where they ended up.
And that's how you get good bands, by having organic, from the ground up. They work their way up, and they
that's
refine
how,
their art as they're going. See what the crowd likes,
That's who Metallica was here in the States before they got lame. Like, they couldn't get signed at all, so they were all like an underground big scene for a while before they hit it big.
Yeah, they were really quite big before they even got their first record signed, and a lot of bands had to do it that way. Especially with new types of genres. You know, that because record execs, they're like, well, you know, we're definitely making money off this person. Why would we look at you? You know, we might not make as much. But then you say, well, hey, you know, I'm filling pubs every weekend, you know.
Yeah,
And they're like,
look at what
okay,
we're
money,
doing.
money, money. Yep, come over. So
Yeah,
always-
Michael Jackson really changed the '80s, didn't he?
he did. Yeah, my mum went out and bought the video. I remember I got home from school one day, and she's like, and I hardly even knew who Michael Jackson was. And she's like, oh, hands with this video with all these vampires and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell is this? It's Michael Jackson, man. So, yeah.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out here to Dude Bro over there on Odyssey, who just can't seem to be nice for the life of him. So, why don't we just time you out for a little bit? We'll call it 10 minutes now. You come back when you can learn some manners. Next time, I won't be so.
I can't even see the chat. How do I do that?
Well, this chat is different.
If you want
This
to go to the
chat's
YouTube
over on
chat, that's
Odyssey.
where
I
the
actually
most
watch it on
fun.
YouTube. Yeah, okay. I'll
Yeah.
bring one up.
So, but if you want to go hang out with Mr. Odyssey, I don't know who you said he was now, but yeah,
Dude, bro.
Yeah. Dude Bro.
dude, man.
So, Cam, you have a meetup coming up. I saw there was a
gonna
date
ask that.
change that
Yes.
took place.
Yes. Yeah, it was going to be this Saturday, and now it's the following Saturday. I mean, not. It was going to be in a week. But then we found out there was all this other stuff, political type stuff already organised, rallies and things. So, you know, we don't want to be splitting groups. So we just put it for the next Saturday. So we're going to try and get those regular, hopefully, you know, at least monthly. You know, start getting people to meet up. And then we're planning. We're heading to the desert for December 21st. We've decided we're gonna all go hit the red center and see what happens on the solstice. So
Really awesome.
yeah. So Lucas, if you're into it, we actually don't know where we're going, but we're gonna go on somewhere.
Well, you know, if it's in Victoria, I'm probably able to come.
Yeah, you probably can't. Well, that's all right because
I'm not allowed to go outside the borders. You know,
Dan's going to be gone in a week. Didn't you know? They're after you.
That
He's
should help
gone.
your
Oh, yeah, they- yeah.
case.
what
Dan's
do you
gone.
know? Yeah, well, hopefully that's the case.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It's always you get your hopes up, and then they bring in a replacement, and they're probably worse. So
It's a replacement you got to worry about, I guess.
yeah.
But there's been some. Did you see in? I think I've still got it up. There was in Idaho. Did you hear that? That the governor, who was Mr. Little, is that right? Brad Little, went out of town to the border on official business, and when he was gone, the Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeechan changed all of his rules and mandates about the jabby jab.
Yeah.
And she repealed it all and said, no, it's all crap. Don't listen to him.
She does that every time. Every time he leaves the state, she is sort of in charge de facto. So she'll just go through and do basically whatever.
Cool.
Well, they run the split ticket on their governors. So one is a Democrat and the
That's
vice
great.
president
I
is a
had no
Republican.
clue. Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
right.
So
So what happens there? Is that going to
So was
stand?
she
Or?
No.
making it worse, or was she
No.
making it better?
he just
No,
comes
she was
back.
making it better.
Yeah, she does. She totally just opens shit back up, and then he'll come back in and undo what she undid, and it just sort of I did not authorize her to speak for me type of situation, and it's just
Madness.
we'll see. Re-election's
It's like-
coming up, and she is running directly against him. So some say it's a
Yeah.
political move, but there's a
It's
lot that
official.
it's
We
official.
are past idiocracy now. They didn't even do this kind of stuff in idiocracy.
Oh yeah. We're way past
You
that.
know, we're
We've
past.
been way past that for months.
Dude,
Yeah.
I bet the guy who wrote that every other day slaps his head like, holy shit, why didn't I think of that?
I'm Nostradamus.
He's probably working on Idiocracy too, right?
Right.
now.
Yeah.
It's just a documentary of what's going on.
Live footage, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It's
Yeah. This And
It
these are
can't go
supposed to
much
be the
further though. It can't go much. Like everything's falling apart. With this,
It literally is.
it literally can't. Like it's limping along at the moment. This whole, cult of and it's just about to, to destroy itself.
So
I'm not
are there
worried at
any
all.
countries that aren't going along with this? I know there's some African presidents who are like, yeah, this is a hoax, a joke. Maybe
Wasn't it
South,
like-
I mean, because we're so compartmentalized, we don't get to hear about so many
No.
other countries or what's going on there.
Mm.
I think it was like maybe Sweden or Lithuania, somewhere in that sort of those sort of countries that there was some that weren't going with it at all, and they've said, basically downgraded COVID to be the common flu.
Flu, yeah. Denmark did that.
So, yeah.
Well,
Yep.
Brazil, even New Zealand. Like you just hear that New Zealand's, basically Victoria Mark II, and there's no footage coming out. But they had massive rallies last weekend. They got all their bikies. They got a big bikie contingent in New Zealand, and all the bikies got out and stuff. So there's things happening. We're just not. They don't want. It's like the whole, 70% of people have had it. Yeah, right. This is all just to get people to go, oh, they had that. Well, I want to be part of the crowd. I better go and get it. It's just this massive, it's just a movie, and it's a bad movie. It's a B-grade movie.
I heard another.
I want my money back, man.
Another percentage
this
here
movie
today.
Sucks.
In the States, they say I heard 56% have been vaccinated now. That's what I've heard as of today on some news radio thing, blah, blah, blah. And I don't even buy that.
No. Well, what are the stats on what they tell you of how many people have had, adverse reactions? I mean, we know how way out they are. So if they're so way out, why would we believe that the other numbers they tell us have any validity at all?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, look at everything they tell us. You would be more accurate if you took everything they told you and reversed it 180 and went the exact opposite. And,
Well, that's how you do get accuracy. You flip what they say on its head and you say, what's the opposite to that? Shit, And this is how I find out a lot of stuff, like this is how interesting concepts like, the masculine moon and the feminine sun. It's like, what do they tell us? Oh, it's a feminine moon and a masculine sun. Okay. So let's just flip it and see how it works out and see if it lines up with any old mythologies. And it did. So, it's that sort of stuff. It's everything, same.
That's like, go ahead. Sorry, Cam.
I was going to say
that's literally what they do. Oh, sorry. I thought you said Campbell. Sorry, Cammy.
No worries. With the data and the reporting, I was reading into a lot of this. In fact, I have our bears open on another screen and, just seeing what it would take to fill out the forms. But with this, I learned a lot on the data collection and things that they don't tell us when spewing numbers at you. Like, for instance, what percent of people are vaccinated and unvaccinated. First of all, you need to know that at the hospital level where they pull those records, it defaults to unvaccinated, and you specifically have to go through a lot of stuff and go in individually into things and mark it to get it to change to vaccinated. So your automatic default is unvaccinated if you do want to change it. If you do want to change it, reasons that you should not change it on there would be that if they've had the vaccine in the last 14 days or have not had both doses. So in other words, in order to even be able to change it from unvaccinated to vaccinated, it can't be that you just had the vaccine or have interaction or anything like that. It means that it had to occur 14 days after your second injection before they are even allowed to. And they will say that, like, most of them, unless you go through a lot of extra paperwork, it's going to default to the unvaccinated, because that is a default setting on something that you're really not taught that you need to go in and change. It's just something, it's not picking up from the state records, or it's not interfacing with anything. You specifically need to go in and look for and change out something on a patient's record, which requires again, extra effort and steps that they're not. I was watching a video from a physician's assistant.
So even if you got the vax, doesn't mean that, according to the government, you've been vaccinated.
No,
Even
no,
if you
not
got both your shots and everything,
and
it doesn't.
right, and it's been that
Yeah.
many. It doesn't automatically
Yeah.
mean that you're going to show up. It means that you're going to show up as unvaccinated unless your physician's assistant or your doctor or somebody took extra steps to go in while they're doing all of their other things, and switch over that record for the stuff to go, because the default, and again,
There's going to be a lot of pissed off people out there.
this is by the way, my physician, this information is from somebody named Deborah Conway. I believe she's a physician's assistant, very high rated, and explain, she's now listed a whistleblower on here, but she's a fabulous nurse, and her big problem is, and she will lose her job December something because she will not get vaccinated, is because on the reporting, and she noticed strokes and all of these different things going up and things not being there, and she wanted to know on the reporting, how to do it in that. And so she looked into it. She did a lot of research and then found the VAERS. Now, on the VAERS, when you go and fill out the VAERS report for the vaccination, you're going to go through thousands and thousands and thousands of lines. I don't know, I didn't count them. I saw them up on my computer that has every symptom in the book written in medical legalese. So what did I throw at you, Wald? I threw hip. What was that?
Snapping hip, I believe.
Like snapping hip. Now, only one person reported snapping hip, or maybe they put one to have it show up. But like any type of, you have to go through them all. And I mean, it is, if you can think of it, and it having a medical term to it. Plus, they have all kinds of tests, all kinds of anything on it. So even if somebody gave you a CAT scan, it's going to show up as a negative reaction in a way, or that somebody reported. It's very, very it's very hard data to report. It's all in complete medical terms. You have to look up each term and see if you're getting it further right. And it can be filled in by a physician, by a person themselves in doing it, and then they just say it's just something they look out to look for trends for it. It's not verified. They're not differentiating between when a doctor puts in, they have to go further. It's, kind of a mess, but on the VAERS. So what this physician's assistant did is like, she saw how complicated it was. And she went to the hospital saying that, like, it says this, that like, people are supposed to be reporting all of these things, and where do you train us to do that, and where do we get this information? And the hospital administration says, oh, it's up for each provider to self-train themselves. It's never mentioned. Like the reporting system and everything is never put into the hospital training, and when you ask for the training, you're pretty much told to stay out of it. It's just if you have a patient and you want to, but you really need to mind your business. Because what she did was, because she was an admitting physician's assistant, so she admitted everybody in and also did the discharge papers at this hospital. She put in the packet for the emergency room a list saying if they, of different VAERS things, and saying if you want to do this, or if you have anything, I'll do the reporting for you and put it into the computer, right? And she thought it would be like 2 or 3 a week. And it turned out that she was like, wow, this would be a full-time job. So she tried to get more employees hired to enter all of the data she was collecting, and was told that she is completely outstepping her boundaries. It's not up for her to collect data, even when she's doing it as a hospital. It's not up to her to do this. It was,
That's right, because it's completely voluntary. So what you see with the VARs is probably the reporting, because it takes a half an hour of the nurse's time, or whoever's filling it out, at least a half an hour.
Right.
But so you're probably getting
completely voluntary.
Well, yeah, it's voluntary, but you're probably only getting 1% of what's actually going on, just for the reporting. And I think there's like adverse effects is probably, there's like 50,000 pages of it so far, just for the vaccine. So and so
I said
that's
thousands
only
and
1%.
thousands. I don't know if
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, in order to check the things on there, you have to again go up and like any condition you can think of. That, in fact, they have like car wreck, or they have Trump. They have on the vaccine injuries. They have like I think they had car wreck on it. I mean, it was different things to look through. It's like, how many things can you look through? How many pages of stuff can you look for? When on there, so many of them, almost all of them are listed as ones, and then you could jump up and it's like, 13,000 here, 20. You look for, the common ones, and it's like you'd almost think that you could make a condensed list of potential ones that, might come into play, and then the people that have weird ones would have to go in and get, that you could open it up to look for a weird one. Like, again, a hip snapping might not be something that most people are thinking of,
Yeah.
You couldn't possibly go and ask your patient each one of these things. Are you experiencing this? Are you experiencing that? It's think of the thing that you fill out every time you go to a doctor, and then multiply it times 500 or 600. So it's like, oh yeah, that's easy reporting.
Oh,
It's retarded.
Yeah, it's all.
It's been created that way, clearly, though. And
Yes.
they run around jumping up and down saying, "Oh, we want all these stats, and we need to know this, and you need to have your little card and everything." But when you go into actually, the health system, they don't give a crap, and they're actually going out of their way to give the wrong information. So it's such a joke.
Well, with the which I call the comorbidity, but the comirity, I read a lot on that one too, and I didn't trust anybody's writing actually went into the difference between the Pfizer and the comirity. And what it is very clearly is just a legal definition. You cannot in the United States get the comirity or the comorbidity vaccine in the United States. It's a marketing name, and it's being marketed to Europe and everything, and sold as a FDA approved. And it is the same formula that's in America. But in America, if you take something that's FDA approved and have like a reaction, it's very difficult to get through with the VAERS. You have a court that you can take it to court and argue it, right? And there's a pool for people that have vaccine injuries, and it's very, very, very hard. It's a very hard court to get past. In other words, it's not an easy step, but it's something, right? But it's only with things that are FDA approved. Now, what they're giving us in America, they're not restocking with new. We'll never get the brand name. It's a marketing to market over into Canada and Europe as an FDA approved one. But in America, you cannot go anywhere, nor do they plan on you going anywhere and getting it. They're still shipping everything out. The Pfizer biotech one labeled as such because it gets rid of all the liability. So they created a vaccine that they're not distributing in America, and the only the difference is having the FDA approved gives you a little level of legality here, but they will not make that vaccine, nor is it planned on being available in the United States, because it adds in the only thing the FDA, that level of legal. They are the exact same vaccine, they're medically the same vaccine, but they are legally distinct. They're completely legally distinct.
Yeah, they're just
liability.
More corruption at higher levels. I mean, it's just
it was a
it
way to
goes
market
on
it,
and on.
But nobody in America will be able to get that. There's no plan of it. They don't even. They're still putting new labels as Pfizer biotech. It wasn't using up the old things and this is what's left. No, they are still intentionally labeling it under the emergency use authorization. So when you take that one, you have, if you are injured, you don't get a vaccine court. You have zero recourse. You have no recourse. So the FDA approval was just a confidence builder in America, but you can't as an American get it. And when you buy it in other countries, you're not buying the FDA approval. In other words, FDA approval doesn't carry over to Canada or the UK. It has no legal meaning there. So in other words, it was just it's a legalese, and that is not misinformation. I researched that very heavily under the legal pages, and it's
bizarre. So they've approved it in the USA under FDA, but that one that they got approved, no one can have.
Nobody can have any. You can have it in Canada, and it's used in commercials and marketing in the UK and Canada, but it is
no
not
FDA approved.
But it's,
So I got this.
but
in
it
the
doesn't
mail.
matter. The FDA means shit to you over there. Yeah.
Right, but I got this in the mail.
Uh-huh.
Cardstock, heavy duty. Now snail mail doesn't work anymore, right? Everybody's online. It's all the internet.
It's
That's
a
why
marketing
papers
thing,
are
right.
dying and blah, 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 blah. But I
Mhm.
got this in the mail to let me know that FDA gives Pfizer BioNTech. Pfizer
Uh-huh.
/ BioNTech is the fucking, yeah,
Uh-huh.
stab that in, you fucking dumbasses.
Uh-huh.
Full FDA approval.
No, they didn't.
Well, that's what my paperwork here. I got.
Oh, I want to scan
box.
that one
Yeah,
and get it
okay.
quit wiggling. They
was
gave
fucking ridiculous.
comirity. It's legally. There's a legal difference, not a pharmaceutical difference, but a legal difference between the two. Go try to call anybody, call any pharmacy, challenges
Yeah.
on,
Tim
call
Truth
anybody in
done
America. You cannot get. They do not supply it with that label to anybody in America, because then it would fall under the FDA. You know, it would fall under legally. So what they do is they say it has to be. You can't have it in America, and where you can have it, it makes no difference anyway. It's
Yeah, I know on the Melodome, Austin and Christian did this. They went and called a bunch of different CVS's and Walgreens, and all the different pharmacies around the area, and none of them were offering that one. None of them had the FDA approved one.
Nobody in the
Tim
country
Truth,
does.
Tim Truth did the same thing. He done a great report on all that, calling up people and trying to figure out if there was a difference in the makeup, and they all said no, but he had some stuff that was saying that it was actually a different type of vaccine, but who knows? It's sort of
I mean,
sort of
the legal
beyond the point.
papers
I
and the
mean,
ingredients.
they're
Yeah,
just
they said it's
they're all trying to kill us with it. So
right.
you know, it's
But-
if they put an FDA label on it or not, it doesn't really.
But the FDA label that they put on it, where it would be legally significant, is where you cannot get the labeled vaccine.
Yeah.
And it is. They are shipping to, and it's in the legal pages is where you find this stuff, and you look for the legal distinction, because I can tell you can get into the things on all the pieces and parts and the ingredients, and legally they've pulled that too. They are legally identical, but they're not legally identical at all. And it all has to do with the legal, again, that status of, can you get into that vaccine injury court or not? And I'm sorry, taking it in a different country, you're not an American, so you're not going to make it to the court. And in America, they won't give you the one that you could take to court. So what you're taking is under the emergency use and is completely protected from any court case. It's protected as an emergency use, is protected entirely down the pipeline, that nobody, the person that administrates it, the person, no person in any step of the pipeline can be held liable in any way, except for not gross negligence, but it has to have a malicious. It has to have
treason.
It has to have like a criminal thing. Like, let's say you took it and you gave somebody 5 shots at once intentionally, a malicious. It would have to have a proven, which is very hard. You would, the absence of malice would get it thrown out of the case. They would have, it really needed malice with it.
Yeah, but I mean, they're all getting paid money too. So I mean,
of course.
We found out in Australia.
Follow the money everywhere. Yeah.
This the politician from Queensland, Gladys, who just resigned, it came out that her and her party got paid $65 million by Pfizer.
Yeah.
65 million. That's one politician and her little group in Australia. One.
You have to understand what kind of big money this is to Pfizer. They're charging America like $20 a shot. They're charging in Canada and Europe, I think it was $14.95 a shot. The equivalent. By the way, like the vaccine that we make and do this through Pfizer, depending on what your country are, they have different marketing agreements. And so we're paying, like in America, we pay the high price of it. But of course, they want to follow the money. It means everything to them to force everybody to do it. It used to be like with measles and things like that, when they did a crossover with the vaccines, before you would ever vaccinate, you would check the titers and you would see if you have the antibodies, and you would not vaccinate if somebody's already been exposed. They are discouraging doing anything that would medically be considered normal, to say, no, get the shot, get the second shot, get as many shots.
Well,
and they're free, for free.
For one.
For free.
I hate it being called a vaccine, because we know it's not.
It's not.
This whole booster thing tells you it's not a vaccine. You don't need a booster in 3 months if it's a vaccine.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
actually, with children's vaccines, they usually do split them out with boosters, and that you can. The booster itself, the first one, but the fact is, after the booster, and that was their thing. They were in Pfizer. If you follow the business pages, which I do too, and Pfizer at the beginning of it, they were worried that the vaccine was too successful because if it didn't, we're out and need another shot. And that, remember, they're worried about next year's numbers
Yeah.
too. That was a financial disaster. And this was being
Mm.
discussed as a financial disaster in the business pages that I mean, it's apparent that they are intentionally making it run out. So again, they're clever on it. But
Yeah.
that was something, and they call it your product. What is it? The same as your ink cartridges or whatever. If your things last too good and people don't have to replace it, it's not a good product. Not in our market. I mean, it's not. It's
Not in this
considered a
crazy
failure.
world.
It's a financial failure. That's why people have been caught with ink cartridges that had timers in it that would shut off when people noticed when they bought like ink and replaced it, everything would end
Yeah,
at the
it's
same
planned
time.
obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence. Yeah, you have to make your product fail to get the next dose in. And that's a business 101. And on this whole vaccine thing, along with what they're doing, follow the money and how much money, why everything is supposedly free and vaccines are free. And that, remember, every shot being given to Pfizer is getting $20 from, or for
And
1995.
we're paying for it. It's all coming
And
from
we're
tax.
paying for it. Yeah, it's all coming from taxpayers. So them saying it's free and them saying is that it's not free, and the pharmaceuticals just look at their stocks and see what they're doing and look who's getting rich and richer. So they
Yeah.
have no financial incentive to have a vaccine that you take is over with like the other ones. There's nothing there for them.
Something that actually works.
All right, so sorry to change the subject, but
There you
said
go.
something.
I was about to do it, Lucas. Thank you.
You said
Thank
something
you.
earlier that sort of piqued my interest. You said that something about Atlantis, and it had a date on there and things like that. So can you go into that sort of stuff a bit more. And
there's a book called I think it's actually pronounced Weira Linda, Oera Linda book, and it was rediscovered in the 1830s in a castle in the UK, I believe. And basically, it's saying that it was written in the 800s, and it's basically a rewrite of collection of old writings. And this book literally, have you guys heard of? There's an island called Frisland. Have you ever heard of Frisland?
yeah, that one's that's been sort of written off the maps.
Yeah, this is one of those phantom islands that some maps it's there, some maps it's not. It kind of appears and disappears, and then eventually just it's gone. They basically say that that's where, because when I first saw that, there's a region in is it Denmark, Scandinavia, called Friesland, Feis land, and this island was called Frisland, Fris land. And I'm going, hang on, there's a connection here. And I was trying to find it for like over a year, just trying to find the connection. And then there's this book, and it literally says, we used to live on Frisland. It was Atlantis. It sunk on this date. We all took off in boats and basically inhabited. This is why Scandinavia is all the same people that you get. They sort of took off and hit, sort of Norway, Denmark, all those regions. Also Great Britain, and the other way that they went is to the USA. Now we get a lot of stories from the USA, from South America, talking about Atland, which is Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's ties to this. I'm still going down this, but there's ties everywhere, and it also goes up to, the whole north, right? Hyperborea. Did you know that there's writings that say King Arthur went to Hyperborea?
Mm.
I do indeed. I went through a whole period of King Arthur studies back in the 1980s when Borman's fantastic Excalibur movie came out. If you haven't seen it, you need to fucking see it.
That was creepy, that one.
Yeah, it was fucking nuts, but it was great. It was powerful. I mean, it was great. I mean, if you were a teenager in the 80s, it was perfect. So, but yeah, I did a
It
whole
brought
lot
them.
of background. I read Lamar. I did all that. I did the whole 9 yards. And when I found that shit, it was like, what? This is all crazy. And I never even thought about the connection till now. So, yeah.
Well, that movie brought the magic sort of side back into it too, didn't it? Where before that Arthur was just, just a dude with a sword, from a lake, just smashing people. But King Arthur's,
hot-
I mean, he's
hot-
been pretty much wiped right now. Now, literally, they'll say, "Oh, we don't even know if he existed. We think it's just a story." But so there's something massive being hidden there.
Yeah, there you go. As soon as they start
Well,
saying,
it's that story is hugely symbolic as well. Knights around the round table. It's got all the symbolism of the
12 and
suns.
1.
Yeah, and that central point, which King Arthur would be that Mount Meru, the mercurial point as well.
Yep.
But it seems to me that's how they wrote things as well. When you're describing a story, you're also describing the world that you live in at the same
Yeah.
time, which is really interesting. And I remember this was a few years ago. I was on a Crow forum and I was talking to a guy, and he basically sent me this piece of writing that had it was almost like poetry, but it had numbers and things in there. It was about King Arthur, and basically I applied the cipher that Marty Leeds used, and then you could pull the whole thing apart. So
Decipher.
you decipher it, and it's, to me, everything stems from that central point and comes out. It's like, when you're looking at ancient India or you're looking wherever, it always seems to the highest information, the most encoded, the high tech information seems to come from that central point, doesn't it? That Hyperborea or the
and of course,
Northlands.
us as white boys, we don't really have a history book, right? The Bible is from the Middle East. There's lots that come from Asia, but what do Caucasians have as an ancestral book? Like, what do we have? We don't have one. But that's what the Aurolinda book is. That's literally telling the history. Obviously, it's just fragments. It's at least as good as the Bible, though, right? So that's the thing. Like, it's like you say, there's this whole society all across the north, and then we have the stories of Vikings going to the USA and all this kind of stuff, but there's not much information out there on it, is there? They don't want us to focus on that or look at it.
right, when you get a second, link that book if you have a good link for it. I'm having trouble digging it anywhere.
Well,
Probably my spelling,
white
and I'll give you probably a lot of it.
Oh, hang on a sec. Yeah.
Would be more like in the vein of, say, what was it, Odin, or that paganism type thing. That's where our sort of origins seem to lie.
Definitely.
Which
Definitely.
again are encodes for the same sort of principles, like the same characters. And this is what I found, that the same central character throughout, no matter what sort of, if you're looking at the Celts, if you're looking at Indian, if you're looking at wherever, they'll have that same central figure. And it's really like, I always point to the Trinity, this idea, but it really points to how energy works. And personifying how energy works, and it's a really good teaching tool in a sense. And I think that's because when you apply that principle, you start to understand how energy works, and then therefore you understand how creation is coming about in a sense. So that's my 2 cents. I won't hold you up. You tell us more about what you've been looking at.
Everything's one. I mean, it's all the same, really, isn't it? We're just being told that it's not. I just look at everything's a fractal, I think, and that's why they wrote stories like they used to. Apart from the fact that stories are easier to remember and pass along, they put it into our imagination so that we could see pictures and make it vivid and turn elements and all these different things into characters, just so that we can basically remember them easier. It's much easier than what we've got today, where we read these left brain books, right? And like people literally go and study. They just read these words and they're like, go in. But if they just made it a story and used their right brain, they'd be like, oh, okay, I got that. So they used to do things properly. Like we're a bit you know, this society we find ourselves in is a bit backwards. And that's another thing with this book is it's got its own language. And basically what it says is with this language, they wrote it in a way that the language would never be changed because they wanted their ancestors, people, you know, down the line to be able to read the exact same words that they were reading.
Yep.
But what do we find today? That they just try and change and obfuscate all the language, right? So we don't know what the hell's going on. So when you read it, it's like they had it sussed. And then they talk about what happened. They talk about how they fell. And they talk about these people called the Magyar, or, you know, the Magi, maybe, the magician.
I was about to say, kind of magic.
And were they? Who were they?
So they were these people who came in and basically started, you know, whispering in the king's ears and saying, "Oh, you know, these people are out to get you," and rah rah rah.
Oh, so they're like the worm tongue in Lord of the Rings. You know how he's whispering it, and starts to take his power. Yeah.
So I call them the whisperers, and I have for a couple of years. You know, they're like the J hat people. You know, and it literally says what they did is they came in and they deified people. They made statues and said, "Go and worship that statue. Don't worry about the living people. Go and worship that statue." And then they and it says they went into the citadels and cathedrals and filled them with false idols, right? And what are we told about this? It literally says this in the Bible, right? Don't worship false idols. And you mentioned Odin. It talks about Odin. Odin was a dude. He was a king. And he went down and he was, they offered him, these Magyar people got to him, and I think he went down to like Germany, and they made him their king. And then after 7 years, they killed him, and they made statues, and they made everyone, and they turned him into a god, right? And they said, no, go worship the statue and listen to what we tell you he is. We'll tell you all about it. There's your statue. You go worship it, and we'll give you all the info you need. And where do we find ourselves today? I mean, when you read this book, it's just like, oh God, that's the story.
They're using the same play exactly today with how they're treating this whole thing that we're in. You know, it's like deifying the sickness or whatever it is. You know, but
and the Faucis and Gateses of the world.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. You know, deifying NASA and their rockets, and they just, it's like a constant. And you can, you know, rather than having a statue in a temple, you could basically, it's in your pocket, on your phone, and you can pick your deity that you want to go to. You know, anything but nature.
Yeah, this whole electronic thing. It's like you said. You know, I mean, it's in 1984, right? And we got told. Yeah. They just keep changing the information. I mean, that's literally that guy's job. He goes to work and he changes the past. That's what he does.
You guys ever read the book by Neil Gaiman, American Gods?
Oh.
It's a fiction book, but it's
fiction
great.
Doesn't sound fiction.
It talks, well, it's not, because he does his research. Gaiman's a humongous researcher about the things he writes about. And when you read this book, you pretty much know it's a truth book. And basically it talks about how all the old gods from the old countries basically had to migrate over to America and figure out where to fit in our crazy world of culture. And there's these new gods that get created out of the electronic world, out of the media. There's one for media. There's one for the video shit. There's one that's running around smoking his little vape with his bad hairdo. He's the little cool white boy. And it's really there was a movie they had that was made for our show, actually, that was made from it. That was really good. But the book I had read years ago, and it really touches on the gods and how it would have to be if you know, their energy is no longer focused on them. They've got to figure out a way to get it back, you know. So the god of like sex or whatever becomes the porn chick, and then just all these kind of ties in stuff. It's really a great book, really a great book if you haven't read it. And I can say the series is pretty decent. It's not a bad series at all.
That's definitely how they do it. I think that they just, you know, because that's what we're dealing with, right? We're dealing with entities, whatever you want to call them, who have no connection to source, that so they can't create through source, right? They can just create this false, 3D, watered down version of reality. That's all they can do, and that's all they can be gods of. So they're trying to. So that's their plan, right? If we believe that their reality is real, then they're our gods because they created that reality, and that's
they're
why everything's
dictating
inverted.
They're dictating what the God story is, and that's right. if they change what the God is and how it's represented, and that's what the real search for me has been, is like, okay, what did these higher cultures actually believe? What did they, where did they get their information from, rather than, and the stuff that I look at, well, they're not deifying, they're using these as personifications of um, of information, basically, and it seems very technical in its way it's approaching things as well. Like, it's an encoded story, so you can understand it like a little fairy tale, but in that you're understanding electrical concepts or whatever it is. I mean, and while people say, oh, it's like history books and things like that, well, maybe that wasn't the intent of some of these books either, to define history, because we know that, like yesterday for me, I barely sort of, even if I was to remember it, as best I could, it would still be nothing like what it was actually, what it was. You know what I mean? So what do you actually start to transmit? What's important if history is so ethereal in nature? You know what I mean? Like, and that's really just these higher spiritual concepts that are the most important, because it holds the society in a higher level for a longer period of time if they focus on it.
Yeah. Well, what you believe, you're going to create. If you believe that the world's a bad place out to get you, you're going to act that way. You're going to walk down the street, staring at people going, oh, get away from me. And they're going to look at you and go, bloody weirdo. And you're going to say, see, they call me a weirdo. I'm right. The world's bad. It's just all proving yourself right, though. It's just this big game, which is where we are, right? It's time to get over ourselves, I think. But I mean, with gods, right, the media, I mean, just that word, that comes from Medea, which is the Greek goddess of illusion. I mean, it's all. And of course, we have, the planets, Mars, they're all the gods, right? God of war, God of this, God of that. But this is all they're doing, is getting in our heads and saying, and defining stuff. That's what this is. That's what this means. And if you believe it, well, they gotcha. That's it. It's like everyone's saying, this is a war for your mind. So,
and the same thing applies to this, scientism as we have it today, is like the periodic table. Oh, we just named this, or gravity waves or whatever it is, quantum, and it's just putting names on the stuff. And what I always try and do is look at etymology of words to see if there's something that's there's something there, because usually you can find little a broader definition or something.
It's always in there. Words just, there's something going on. It's like, no matter, like, we have some words and they're just like, someone's destroyed a word and changed it and colloquialized it, and you end up with this other word. But then you look in and the etymology seems to work out.
Yeah.
But you can't find the origin of the word, if you know what I mean. But the way it's used, if you look into how it's written and how, and what it means, it still makes sense. There's something going, like, there's, people talk about the bad AI and the bad and all that. There's a big good force out there, and it just keeps popping up, doing all these things.
Well, that's kind of like that thing you see where it's a scrambled up text, a paragraph of shit that's written wrong. The words are backwards, they're out of order, but you can read it perfectly. What the fuck's that about? What the fuck's that about? I mean, the words are not right, they're backwards or upside, and you're reading it fine. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I'll find one here in a minute.
It's pattern
Speaking of
recognition.
words,
Yeah.
Josh, I didn't hear you.
Said it's pattern recognition.
Right. Well, I know that's part of it too, but still, the word thing is deeper than that, I think, too, because trying to read some things that I've discovered in libraries over the years in different languages, and just things come through. I don't know, something about the written word. I think it's the I think it goes back to those runes and those symbols and all that shit. You know, there's something about the
sure.
shapes
You're definitely
of
right
those
about.
words.
You're definitely right about the language itself. It is so enigmatic in its how it's. There's something underneath it that sort of still drives it to be coherent. You know what I mean? And that's what you were sort of getting at before. And it's like it's part of our subconscious. You know, it's I don't know.
I think it's energy.
Works.
I think it's just the way that our brain just deciphers it, right? Because you can look at a letter and then you can look at a group of letters, and you don't get a word formed in your head, but then if they're in the right order, you do get a word formed in your head. So it's energy. You're not looking, your mind's not reading the individual letters. It can't be. You're looking at concepts, which is energy.
Yep. There you
So-
go.
so-
Concepts
and we just-
that have been
we-
solidified into form, almost like a
exactly.
shape of the waveform, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
so every
if you-
waveform has like a color, a fractal form, a frequency in pitch. All the same frequency, just different expressions of how we see it and interact with it.
Was it Austin that showed us the word jewelry? That was the frequency of the jewelry. That was, you could buy somebody's name or I love you, and it was the freaking word frequency put into jewelry. Wasn't that awesome?
The pendant, the 3D
Let me
pendant.
let me find
Looks
it.
like a chess piece.
Cam, your head is about to
Wow.
explode when I show you this. Hang on. But
Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds
So
cool.
when speaking of like the frequency and if you look at I think there's 16 different sounds in the Sanskrit letters or sounds and how things are pronounced, and each of those sounds come from a different way, a different area in the body. So a different use of the tongue or the mouth or something like that. So that was how theirs are created. But I think there's other sort of languages, and when you're talking about a language, I don't think their origins are separate at all. So Sanskrit, Hebrew, or everything else. It's almost like they were just different representatives of a different subject. It was almost like we use this one for this.
Maths language, science language, arts language.
Yeah, exactly. And they had a different function. I don't know. It's just been one of my ideas that's been rolling around. It's like, they're all almost created in the same spot, but they've got a different function for a different
That's where
science or whatever.
English came from, is a trading language. It came from commerce. Basically, so that people, when they were sailing around in their boats, they could go to the different ports and they could talk commerce and they could trade with each other. That's where English came from. So English is definitely one of those languages. That's why, we're missing a lot of descriptive words. It's not the most arty, descriptive, language that we know of. It's just trade and commerce, right?
Yeah, and you do see this sort of play out a little bit. It's like, Germans are good at building in that mechanical way, or
I used to.
Is there something where the language actually starts to dictate what function is more appropriate to it? Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah. Or is it the other way? Is it that the land and the energy of the land and the frequency dictates language? It could
be
either, I guess, because every different land has a different feel, it's not just the language that's different, right? You go into a different culture and it's the food, the smells, the language, the clothes. It's different energy. Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. Okay.
that's a frequency, dude, of somebody saying I love you, a name or whatever. Doesn't that look like the top of every antiquity fucking building you've ever uncovered?
Exactly. Exactly right. Wow.
Now I'm seeing this on our share screen, but it's not coming up on the YouTube.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I don't know why.
All right.
All of a sudden
No
the
worries.
share screen isn't grabbing it. It's the same motherfucking screen you were just showing.
right? Who knows?
Oh, I hate
maybe
that,
because I'm
Josh.
not talking. Maybe if I was talking, it comes out. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I can
But there's a
definitely.
better
That's,
view of them. I thought I can't find it. I probably went
so
to the
does
wrong
that
site.
mean that NASA can print off what an earthquake looks like?
There we go. Got it.
Because they photographed that frequency, didn't they?
Well,
Sure
they
you
call it
could.
gravity
Yeah,
wave
any
from a
frequency, because you
balloon.
turn it on the
It's
side,
like-
it's a sound wave that you would see in, say, like a music program or something like that. So you,
Yeah, it looks
or,
like the Schumann frequency. Turn it on
Right.
the side, it looks like the
Right,
Schumann
right.
frequency.
I don't know why I can't get to their order page or just getting to the whole thing. I don't know.
But how's that it show that they look like the spires? Because that's another thing that we're sort of looking into is
Right.
a lot of these domes have different symbols on. You know, some have half moons, some have crosses, some
Look
have.
at this one, man. This one's nuts.
Wow. And they all seem to be for a different frequency. So that's what this stuff
Mhm.
is, right?
And when I went through the process, you say whatever you want into their little program here, and
what the curse words look like? Do they like?
right.
It's
Check
like
it out.
those
I'll send you
the
guys
water
the link.
crystals when they show you the dirty water. It's just all. Oh, you there? You there? Hello, hello.
Yeah, no, we're here. Sorry.
Oh, and quiet.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah,
a lot.
that's yeah, all these domes, right? And they this is what they say. It's religions, right? Oh, half moons, Islam, cross, Christian. But then when you get into like alchemical symbols, you know, you look at these symbols and they're all symbols for the planets, Mars and Neptune and all this kind of stuff. So were these domes literally tuning into the energy of, you know, the planets, whatever they are, the things up there, because they were in the position where, you know, because we have, you know, we have all these things in astrology and they say, oh, tonight, you know, whatever Mars is in, like good on astrology, is in retrograde here. And so if you've got a certain piece of land where that energy is focused on, that's where you build your big machine with a dome on top and you put the symbol on the top that frequencies in with
I
Mars.
think that's what ley lines are. I think those ley lines are keyed into what's going on above us in the sky. I don't think it's just what's going on below us in the earth. I think it has a lot to do with what's going on in the sky above.
We still need to look into it, but we're thinking that's, you know, star forts have got a lot to do with that and are probably put on like nodal points, you know, where the ley lines cross. It would make sense. And then of course, then you look at the shape of the star forts and it's the same thing, right? They're expressing a certain frequency. They're all different. So it's in the frequency of that energy where they are, which basically increases it. And then we come along and smash all these things over and put, you know, 10-story boxes on them and say, go to work and pay me for it. So, but it's collapsing. I mean, it's good. You know, I'm not worried at all. So this whole thing, it's collapsing so quickly. Like,
yep. This is just death rows, is what I keep saying. This is just
great.
death rows.
I've been saying it since this started. You know, I've been saying that they're finished, that they can't win. All they're doing is, trying to piss off, you know, create as much mayhem as they can before they go down, because that's what they are. That's just what they do. It's just what they do. You know, they don't question. You know, it's like, why does a snake run around and bite people? Because it's a snake.
What it does, it's what they do. So then it goes back to, are they part of the design or did they take over the area? Are we trapped here with them? Are they from somewhere else? Are they part of the whole like balance? And that's what you do to work out your energy, your path to change yourself so you're ready for the next stage. Is that part of the function? Because you can't have good without bad. You can't have positive without negative. I mean, what the fuck, dude?
And you can't have growth. You can't have growth when you're stagnant. You know, if everything works out perfectly and you just think, oh, I want an ice cream, and suddenly you're eating an ice cream. Well, you know what? How can you learn? It's adversity, right? What's that saying? Good times make monsters. Adversity makes men. Yeah, and look what's gone on in the last 18 months. How many people have woken up and grown and gone, oh my God, this would never have happened if this movie didn't start. So it's all for a reason. It's how you look at it. You can let it swamp you and take you down and all that kind of stuff and believe the rhetoric, or you can not.
Yeah, and to me, it seems like, in a sense, it seems like a natural cycle as well of consciousness. It's like our daily process. We're fully awake at 11 a.m. and then you go through the day, and then you get sleepy by night time, and then you go to sleep. And I think, in a sense, human consciousness is doing a cycle like that. And I have this sort of a bit of an intuition that these psych consciousness processes are directly tied to how our world is functioning at the moment. Like, if you're looking at greater cycles, and that's what I've been sort of looking into, is the has the sun got a different movement over a period of time, and that increases basically the tropics and all that sort of thing. And I was wondering if that's directly related to the heights that we can actually reach. So it does a world that is more in tune with sort of tropical sort of nature tend itself to higher beings and higher living, and then it slowly. So I just think there's a process here, and if we understood some of these larger cycles that we're going through, we could understand where we are, and maybe even understanding where we are in that process helps us achieve higher heights, even in a slumber as such.
I agree. It's back to that everything's a fractal, right, of everything else. Like you said, that the day, and what do they say? The 11th hour, right? We're about at 11 a.m. in the morning. We're just going, okay, I'm always awake. I can see it, sun. That's what I say about language. Everything ties in. You talk about that, and the 11th hour is that's just in our consciousness. So there's this force. I don't know. And this is the thing, right? Everything is energy at its basis. They just try and go, no. It's all physical. It's all physical. There's no God because you can't see him, and when you die, you're dead. And of course, if you believe that, they gotcha. They are your God. If they can make you believe that there's no creator God, well, they're your God.
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't. I don't believe in atheists. I don't believe in atheists. I'm an atheist denier. Because you go talk to an atheist, and they'll start talking about the Big Bang and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, that's your creation story, is it? They got their creation story. They just got their heads up their butts and saying, but I've been to university and I'm an academic and rah rah rah. But they've all got their gods, like Neil deGrasse.
And the funny thing is, when they explain their creation story, the Big Bang and stuff, they're basically having a go at the old creation stories. They call it the Big Bang, which I call it the Big Fuck. But
exactly right.
The old creation stories is exactly that. It is these two positive and negative polarities, the masculine and the feminine, coming together to create. And that's what you see over and over again, is these figureheads for the father and the mother and the child. And that's the family unit. It's these things that we should be,
it's everything, polarities.
It's
anode, cathode.
Yep. And it really is just an energy science. And they've done, even when I was looking at the battery last night, or again trying to pick apart what they've done to the galvanic cell, and I think it's in some ways misdescribed as well. But that's just how energy is created. So if we understood our energy science in a better way, the sky's the limit, sort of thing. And apply it to biology, and that's where real health comes from. It's just where it's all energy, like you
Well,
say.
they're hiding the fifth element, aren't they? They don't want to talk about the ether. It doesn't
Yeah.
exist. It doesn't. You can't see it. It doesn't exist. Don't be silly. But when they hide that, they hide everything. That they're using it. They know it still works. But that's how they hide God. And what are they? L, right? L, electricity.
Yeah.
L, him. That this is how they obfuscate things, and all the stories that you mentioned before, Lucas. How they get stories through. They've turned electricity into people, into gods. You make God mad and he'll zap you, right?
Yeah. Like Zeus and
Yeah.
those sort of
Lightning
things.
bolts.
He's got the lightning bolts and the god of thunder, but they're just personifications of energy.
Yep.
And if we sort of took the context of what's it trying to teach us, and that's where some of these hand-me-downs and things, the information, so the deciphering of what they're actually talking about in an electrical sense is being misconstrued, and we're not getting the
100%.
full picture.
100%. And this is as well, the cathedrals and the dome buildings, that we call machines, that they tell us now, right? They're churches. That's where God lives, right? That's where L lives. Of course, he lives there because it's an electricity producing machine. Hello.
Yeah.
But they're like, no. It's a man who sits on a cloud.
And church is another word for circle, and that's circuit.
Nice.
So it's all about that. Yeah.
It's all about it, the body of Christ, right? The blood. The blood of what do we have? A circulation system, right? Our circulatory system.
Your electrolyte.
Circuit.
Yeah.
So that's the blood. That's that's the energy. And do you know about red mercury, Lucas?
I've seen a little bit about it. Yeah.
So red mercury, we found these. Do you know what monstrances are?
No, you better.
They're basically like religious artifacts, and they look like, some of them literally look like cathedrals. Like you hold them and they've got all these spikes and they look like
Yep.
Those things. And a lot of them have like glass in them and glass containers, and some of these containers literally look like vacuum tubes. And a lot of them have got, the old ones, they've got red residue in them.
Yeah.
Right. So was that red mercury? Because mercury, right, we know the properties of mercury. Red mercury is even weirder. And then, of course, they go into church and they talk about, receiving the blood of Christ, right? Was the blood of Christ the red mercury that was literally, energizing these little devices that were energy devices?
Well, that's the thing, and this is why I sort of always go back to sort of harken on this electroculture, which is, I read an article of the guy putting wires above the garden and then, wires below into the soil, and then being able to put a polarity on there and get increased growth or get rid of pests with it. And then you have those the orgone boxes, which are basically electrostatic accumulators and things like that. So are they were these things basically charging us up? And
static, right? Static electricity, right? And those orgone boxes, it's literally what you get: a piece of wood, some wool, another piece of wood, and you've got an energy collector. It's like, what? Are you serious? They try and tell us it's all these circuits and you need 12 degrees and all this stuff. No, just need a sheep and a tree.
Yeah, and that's what you're doing. You're creating basically, an insulator,
a differential.
Accumulator or a capacitor.
A capacitor, right? Ark of the Covenant, back to pyramids, and that, of course, fits in the sarcophagus in the king's chamber perfectly. So is that the battery, right? Is that the starter motor for the pyramid?
Yeah, and it comes back, and it always comes back to understanding how, like when you apply, say, the galvanic cell to the world, you basically say, oh, well, we're in an energy system and we can derive power the exact same way that the world functions and put it into our own architecture, and it just meshes perfectly. So go ahead, Walt. Sorry.
Sorry, I lost my mute button. I was going to say the idea of this whole electrical thing has really been on my mind of late, and I meant to do it yesterday, and I forgot to go by that direction. Here in my little town, there's an area. It's about a block big, and there's all these transformers and all these things that are part of the electric station. But the electric station is actually over in the little town, sort of like right across the river next to us, the bayou next to us. And it's a huge, big plant with all the steam and all the stuff. And that's the electric power plant or whatever. So this thing in this neighborhood I used to live in, but it's maybe about 7 or 8 blocks from me. Like I said, it's got all these capacitors and these huge things. And at the top of all of them are these little spires. Some have little things on top. Some have nothing on top, but all of them have these spires on top. And it's not lightning rods. There's nothing in this town that has lightning rods on it except for the little building that the Catholic priest lives in behind that church. That's a mud flood building here in town with the weird iron top, metal top thing that's, all the classic crap that me and Zach were looking at when he was here in town with me. So what is that all about? And then there's this area of it. Damn, I wish I'd taken pictures of it. Maybe I can find it on Google Earth. I'll start looking for it. But there's this area where there's these things that look almost like the shape of the fucking CERN thing, and they're all lined up in a row. And it's like, is that thing just making the fucking electricity right there in that neighborhood? I mean, it's so insane what's going on in that block. Let me see if I can find it on Google Earth.
The electricity is a scam. There's people who have gone to their like electricity boxes, the inboxes, and they measure the flow of current coming in and the flow going out, and it's exactly the same. It's just a flow. It's not like electricity is not something that your appliances eat. It's
Right.
like, we've eaten some out, and so now it needs to be. It's a flow of electrons, and so this whole what are charging us, right? All the words, man, they charge us for it. For electric, and then you get into bloody politics, right? Bloody elections, elect the person in power, go to the polling booth between the polls. It's all this, it's to them, it's all electricity. I think that's literally, look around, right? They control the power and you control the power again.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And so that's their God, really. If they can control all that and control and make us pay for it, making us
with their currency,
with their currency,
yeah,
of course,
yeah,
and
that's right.
The old world used to use the current to get free electricity. That's why we see all these canals and water wheels, and there's water everywhere in the old world. They use the water current, right, to get their free electricity. But now it's been changed.
Yeah, it always gets me, like, when you have a generator and you put fuel in it and try and get some power out of it, it's like it takes a lot of energy from that fuel, and your generator doesn't. And then you think of a city and how many people are actually using it, and it just in some ways it doesn't quite add up to me. It's like you've got to have something that is,
times
the amount of
yeah,
like generator wise, it's like you've got to have like one little generator that uses that much power and that much fuel and all that sort of thing won't even run a house. So you've got to have a huge one, and then you've got to multiply it by 1 million people using welders or industrial and things like that, and just like somewhere the calculation just doesn't seem to sync up with me for some reason. I just think that's far too much energy use and power needed for these things. But
yeah, exactly. They show you a power station and it doesn't look like it's a million times the size of your generator, does it, for a million people? So this is the thing, like, that they've got us thinking that electricity is something you need to make, when it's not. It's just something you need to access. It's there already. It's not like we don't make electricity. We just access it. We just, build machines so that we can access it and get it into other machines. But then with the electricity we use, hot electricity instead of cold. So literally 90% of the energy is lost anyway in heat, in all these radiations that we get. It's all lost. I mean, literally, you walk past something like that and you will hear that buzzing. Yep. That's how much energy is literally leaking out of the system. So it's so inefficient. It's so inefficient.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
So this is kind of freaking me out because this picture can't be that old. You know how recent things are done on Google Earth, right? Some of it's not there, like in this picture that I'm talking about. Like tomorrow, or shit, I'm tempted to take my camera, go over there live right now and show you all the different shit. Okay, so all these tops, do you see my mouse or not?
Yep.
Okay, so these things, all these little things, all have these little antennas. And then these things just sticking up. There's no wire to these. They just stick up in the air. These three things, and they have like coils. You can't see this is a bad picture, but they have like coils going all the way up. Yeah. And then the same thing on this side. These are connected to the wires. They go up into it, and you see the big one going up here, and it's got like the little things all across it. But like this whole like area here that has nothing, where this like white rocks are at, this now has some new shit that has these CERN looking things on it. I'm going to take a picture of it. I'll be back in like 5 minutes. I'm serious, because it's like, what the fuck? Why is that there now?
You mean like orbs? Is that what you mean?
No, they're not. They're like CERN-shaped little things, and they're all lined up in a row, and they're not in this picture, which is really crazy.
It looks like that's divided in two, kind of, doesn't it? Like polarities. You've got like a grounding and a...
Maybe so. One side's grounding and one side's, yeah.
It's kind of what it looks like just in the setup.
And this is just sitting in the middle of a town that has like not much going on. I mean, where the actual power plant is, well, I could show you, but it'll take me a minute to find it.
But also, that power lines, they're just to power the birds, right?
Right, exactly. This shit is nuts, man. I'm going to have to go find I just have to go take a picture of it. All right, I'll stop sharing. But yeah, that's the little thing that sits in this neighborhood that is part of the power grid here. And this building, you can't see in it. There's no windows. It's just a building made out of those bricks.
Did you ever see that building that got hit in January? It was in the USA. What happened? Someone drove a car into it or something, and it blew up. Do you remember that?
Something.
It was this big building, but all it did was blow the facade off it, and the story sort of just disappeared, because this building, the whole building was a facade. Like literally, they had this explosion, and underneath these fake windows and fake exterior was just solid red brick walls. No windows, no doors, just solid. But then on the facade, it's like, oh no, it looked like a building with windows and all this stuff on it. So what you just said then reminded me of that is, how many of these buildings we don't even know. We don't even know.
We actually were talking about the what used to be the telephone building around here, and how weird it is and how mysterious it's made. And I could probably find it. Let me go.
Yeah, we've got a Telstra one in Perth. They're the communications people, and it's like 20 stories high, and I don't think it's got a window in the whole building. And I've seen some other weird ones behind like big shopping centers and stuff. These massive red brick, no window buildings. So, I've got no idea what they're doing. But this is
what are they hiding?
What are they hiding?
That's the point. Yeah,
we just don't know. You walk down the street and everyone thinks they know what's going on. Then you go, oh, that's a machine, by the way, and they're like, what? And then you're like, and we don't even know what that is, and we think that's a big brick, safe. We just don't know. It's all a facade, right? It's all a facade. It's all persona.
And you can see, like, your research was led to this, but you can see how much effort they've put into actually hiding all this stuff. Burning buildings down, ripping them off. What was the other, brutalism, where
Yeah.
they just put the facades on things. And even like, I went to a small town, Dimbula, which is near me, and they got those red brick buildings. They got a church with the this is a small little town with a rail station in it, and that was its bread and butter, the rails. But even the train lines and things like that, we didn't build them.
No. Well, I mean, it's pretty much every single town in Australia, no matter how far out in the outback it is, they've all got a red brick pub. Every one of them, big
Exactly.
red brick
You can
pub
pick them a mile away, can't you? Yeah, everywhere you go.
everywhere. So
This is probably the only. I'm probably in the only town that doesn't have a.
You don't have one, right? Geez, mate.
No. Yeah, I know.
You get the wheelbarrow and some mortar. But that's that design on that church we're looking at.
Yeah,
Like that,
that's
the
here in
double
the town.
pillars at the front. That is just everywhere, and of course, twin pillars. Boaz.
And I was just gonna, like, these little weird slit windows. We were talking about no windows. It reminded me of it. That's why I went and looked it up. And like, this church has barely any windows at the front. The three, of course, stained glass ones in the middle, but
so that's a machine part.
Slit, exactly.
Not built for humans to be, doing stuff in there, is it?
Oh no, this is for shooting arrows out at marauders and stuff.
That's what I was going to say, right?
Yeah,
that's what they teach us.
I'm trying to get to the back of this, but I don't
the
know
only problem with that is it's like it should be sideways, so you got more.
Yeah, so you can get two people next to each other, and you're more
unless they're coming from. Yeah.
Did you see the Treyarch doorway there? The three
and then
doors.
This building in the back is where the pastor, or the preacher, priest, whatever they're called. If you can't really see it, Zach has really good photos of it. But this has an antenna. A lightning rod with the classic mercury-filled little. You can see the staining of the silver and in the glass orb. There's another one here you can't see at all. And then every few feet, there's little tiny antennas. Man, you can't make them out in this picture. Little tiny antennas that you can hardly see in there. And that's the only building in this whole town that has lightning rods. This town doesn't get hit by lightning on a regular basis enough to go like, oh, we need lightning rods. Or there's no tall buildings. Zach can tell you there weren't any anywhere else. We rode around looking for them. There's no other building with them. Except
but they just say a lightning rod, that, we just ground it, to disperse the charge, right? Well, if they run that wire, that grounding wire into, somewhere apart from the ground, then they're just collecting energy. A lightning rod is a free energy rod. It's just where you're running the charge.
Yeah, big enough capacitors, you're right. And, if you're saying like the bricks themselves are acting as capacitors, then you get a lightning strike or even a differential, and then all of a sudden the whole building becomes charged. So
and why wouldn't you, instead of having destruction, why wouldn't you just go, we'll take that energy for free and use it?
Well, the thing is, this is what gets me. If you have and this is sort of goes back to some of the ideas of around, say, the earth ships and things like that, where you're starting to live off grid, grow your own food in your own house, and creating natural sort of air conditioning and those sort of things. Well, that's that's freedom there, that you're out of the system. And if every house has the ability to go off grid, you're out of the system completely. There is no grid system at all.
They got nothing.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, what are you going to sell me now? I can grow all my own food in my backyard because I can heat and cool it, or whatever it is with the greenhouse. Or this is true independence. If you've got free energy, free supply, that's your independence.
And this is the thing, we're getting close. I was talking to a guy called, have you heard of Faraday Research, Mike Faraday? And he's built a step-up pulse engine, and he was running milliamps into it, like tiny little trickle of energy, and he was getting more than 240 out the other end.
Shit.
And it's based on the Tesla pulse motor that everyone's tried to get working, and he got it working. He put a spark gap in it, and it works. Because the spark gap, what the spark gap is literally you're letting the ether jump into the circuit. Like, because you're creating a plasma, and plasma is fifth element substance. So as that jumps across the spark gap, you get free energy. It just sucks into the circuit.
Our buddy Adam, shout out, we miss you, brother. He was doing things like that when we first met him. Actually, he was out in his garage creating his GANs, coating his wire, twisting it up. He was making some shit happen. It was crazy
Cool
what
stuff.
he was getting, man. I was tripping on it. Yeah.
Well, Mike runs his car on water too.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Show me the tricks, man.
So, well, this is the thing. We'll have to get you on, Lucas, too. I've been meaning to get you on. We're going to start building motors and showing people how to do it, how to cheap stuff. Because this is the thing, you can't patent this stuff, right? You can't market it, because then, men in black suits will rock up at your door and drag you off to cells somewhere. So we've just got to spread the info. But all the info's out there. There's so many smart people. And the thing is, when they explain stuff, again, it's not hard. This stuff isn't that hard, but they've made us believe it's hard. Only the smart people can do that. Only the people with 4 degrees can figure out that circuit. But then, you look at things like Ed Leeds-Scallon, right? Moving around these mega blocks in the 50s, and he's got, a flywheel and a few bits of iron in the shape of a triangle, and
Hutchinson up in Canada melting freaking metal with retooled Navy, capacitors and whatnot, hovering iron blocks and melting wood and all kind of crazy shit.
Yeah. Is that Hutchinson? Hutchinson effect. Yeah, that's
it.
The other interesting thing I find sort of fascinating is that when you look at the older technology, say vacuum tubes and, like you say, spark gaps, and then the mercury arc reactors and things like that, this old technology seems to be much more, it's analog in its construction, but it's very, because of that, I think it's able to deal with multitudes of frequency. And I think we lack that in some of our newer tech, that it because it isn't analog, it isn't able to, everything's set to the 50 hertz or set to, and what does that actually do? What do the changing in frequencies do? Because I remember there was a guy, Daniel Nunez, and he does the rodent coil type thing. He does his own type one. But he was actually playing music through the coils. For one, he was able to get it to play music, but he was able to get more power out than in and that sort of thing. But it was at certain frequencies there'd be harmonics that hit up, and he was able to also transfer energy to something that should, say he's got an LED that's only 5 watts. Well, and he's running this coil at something larger, like 40 watts, that should blow it up. And no, it was actually with wirelessly transferring the right amount of electricity to the device that it was.
Yeah.
So, there was all these type of things that seem to come out with frequency and, using these analog systems. They may look bigger and bulkier, but there might be a specific reason that they're actually like that. And
they work.
Yeah.
And digital is it's synthetic, right? Digital is them, the parasites trying to change the creation, as far as I see it. Analog, and this only happened 20 years ago, the big change, right? Everything went digital. But this is when you engage the ether, the ether has intelligence. If you're just running, confined current through wires, it can't, that's all you're going to get. But if you're like accessing the ether and sending it through the ether, you're sending it through intelligence. And who knows? It probably goes, oh, it only needs 5 watts. You know, this is the thing. Like when you get back into the invisible, the fifth element, the God part of it, things start to work again. You know, but when you take all that out of the equation and everything's physical, things don't. All they do is break down, right? Entropy. That's all you get from it.
And the other thing, like, you know, we're talking about mercury rods on top of, you know, or mercury balls on top with the rods on top of the buildings, and you know, Zach's friend done a bit of this with, you know, the amount of signal increase that you could get with the mercury, as well as so, you know, can it be operating in multiple different you know, signals rather than just a standard 50 hertz or whatever it is. So there's a whole spectrum out there, and we're sort of pinpointing this one little bit. It's almost like having, you know.
And again, we're taught, right? There's only, we're taught, you know, you've got some options, you know, 240, you got 12 volt, you know, but we're taught that there's not this spectrum that will, you know, give energy to whatever is on that frequency. We're told, no, you've got to make this certain frequency or nothing works. But, you know, and so it's all just the way that's what they control, right? The way that we look at the world. And really, they want us to think that we're not so much that we're stupid, but well, it is, but they invert it, because they invert everything, right? So instead of saying you're stupid, they just go, no, the world's really hard and you don't understand it. It's the same thing. That's just why they say it. And they don't want us to understand anything. That's why they chuck us through 12 years of indoctrination, just to make sure.
And make sure everybody's got a screen of some form every fucking where they go, including when you're pumping your gas. Oh my God, I'm about to snap if my gas. Here in America, when you pull up and get gas, the fucking pump comes on and starts showing you ads and fucking.
What?
Dude, welcome to America. Fucking welcome to America.
So
it makes me snap. I start punching the buttons with my fist until it makes it stop. I literally hit the buttons until it shuts the fuck up. I don't want to hear a fucking scream.
It's the second one down on the right.
I don't give a shit. I hit them till they stop.
Yeah, well, hit the second one down on the right.
Fucking right. Oh man, it drives me nuts. The frequency thing about screens too. Why did the government dictate everybody has to go HD, fucking special TV, blah, 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 da, da, da? What the fuck's that about? What the fuck does it matter to the government what the fuck TV I'm watching?
They love us. It's for our own good.
So they can get their fucking frequency shit deeper into your third eye. Fucking assholes.
They can run it on different frequencies. Do you know all the old tube sets and all the old radios had mercury in them? Had red mercury, most of them.
That's what it seems. Yep.
Have you seen that clip? There's a guy in Russia and he gets an old tube TV. Have you seen that? He walks out to the field and it's like from the 1970s, his TV. Turns it on, you know, nothing. Nothing attached, nothing at all. Yep. And runs his thing through this vial with some mercury in it, runs the antenna through, and he's picking up HD from the USA on this old.
Really?
Yeah. Like he's just like 100 channels going, look at this, whoa. Just running the antenna through a little vial with mercury in it. That's all.
Yeah, that's what Zach's friend did as well, and he was picking up stations from everywhere. So
I mean, and now they tell us it kills
the most,
right?
Yeah, but and then I've seen a video clip, someone drinking it.
And you talk to anyone who was in school in the 50s. Oh yeah, we used to play with it and rub it on our hands and
I would accidentally break a thermometer almost every other month in my house. I would constantly be in trouble for playing with thermometers. My mom was just as bad as I was, though. She'd say, she'd pick it up, you know, off the carpet or wherever it spilled with a little piece of paper, scoop it up here and hand it to us. She'd let us play with it.
Yeah, it was cool. But you can pick it up, you know, it's just like, it's fucking little balls. It's bizarre stuff. But I mean, no metal is toxic as far as I know. No metal in its natural state is toxic. You've got to start messing with them for them to become toxic. So the whole mercury, you know, this is the thing. Same with air balloons, right?
But would that be as well as lead? Would you say the same thing for lead? I mean, that I've looked into that a bit, and that doesn't seem. I don't know. There's something strange about it.
But
super low velocity.
If you get rid of,
I would look into the properties.
Go ahead, Zach. I mean, Josh, I didn't hear you.
It's probably a lie.
Oh, I said super low velocity.
Oh, Well, it's a different lead.
When you get that lead going too fast, it can become really detrimental.
So
Yeah.
Zach, I have a
And
fun
about
question.
paint. Oh, go ahead, Cammy. Go ahead.
I was going to throw a fun question for Zach on here. I'm reading about the toxicity of metals while you're doing this, and which metal is the least toxic?
Gold, silver.
Nope.
Copper.
Zach's made crystals, so I'm like throwing it his way.
Bismuth.
Correct. Elemental bismuth occurs as metallic crystals associated with, and it is the least toxic metal as far as when they read the.
That's a metal you don't hear enough of, isn't it? Oh, bismuth.
Well, if you've got an upset tummy, then you know quite well that your Pepto-Bismol is going to be full of bismuth.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So drinking metals.
That's
metal.
I came across this like a while ago, and it was a thought I had, and I'd done a little video on it, and then I thought, oh, maybe it's a bit dumb, but so I pulled it down. But the basic premise was, there's supposedly like a huge network of lead pipes under, a lot of USA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, if it is actually poisonous and you're having getting lead poisoning from drinking it, well, maybe it wasn't for drinking. And I thought, well, maybe it's, like a lead battery. You run an electrolyte through a lead pipe, and all of a sudden you're starting, maybe it's a way of transferring electricity via water flow, electrolyte flow. And then I looked into flow batteries and things like that. And that's basically, you have two types of electrolytes and they flow past it. I can see if I can bring up a
weren't we talking about that us here about the like aqueducts and how that was probably electrical systems and things like that? You may have been here too, Cam. Hell, I don't know. But it seems like that was something we talked about. The aqueduct systems probably wasn't just for carrying poo around.
I think that was Martin, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it Martin? I was just saying, I know we had the discussion. Shit, I know we've had it years back, but yeah, that's awesome.
It's definitely all part of it.
Right. Well, with the lead paint too, think about that. Oh, it's dangerous. We got to get rid of it. Well, suddenly we got 5G destroying everybody's body.
Now everyone wants it back again.
Wish I had that lead paint again, huh?
So yeah, this is a flow battery here, and you basically got two different electrolyte tanks, and as they flow through, one's a cathode, one's an anode, and then you get this porous bridge where they sort of interrelate and transfer, and that's where you get the battery. So it's just two liquids, and this is how I suspect our circulatory system of the heart and our blood system is working. We have basically one's oxygenated, one would be Mars, one would be Venus, or the arterial and venous sort of different types of blood, and then the heart would be this salt bridge, this porous separator. And then it would get charged like that. That's how that's how I'd figured the heart might be working in our body. But, this same type of principle, and I actually sort of tipped me off with a little bit when there was some channels that were looking at some of those, I think it was the World's Fair stuff where they had some of the devices. And you can basically get this type of setup and you can create a heater out of it. And I did find some patents a fair while ago. I don't know if I can still find it, but they reminded me of some of the devices that were sitting in the World's Fair sort of setups where they had fins all the way around these sort of objects. And I was wondering if they were heating devices using two different electrolytes. And then you see a lot of, so one could be lead and one could be copper or whatever it is, and then you just have the porous two different electrolytes running, and that would create your energy. So whether they had a system like that, I don't know. But it's just some of the theories that I've had swimming around my head for a while. So there you go.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I was trying to work out where the other circle would be. But I mean, I think everything, we look at in the old world, it was all designed. it was all designed, before they even started building. Right, they designed the whole city or the whole whatever. It's not like we do now, and it's just like slapping things next to each other. And we've just released a bit of land. You can go build there if you want, because have all these people, and especially with the World's Fair, and there's a bit of debate still going on that, and a lot of people are like, well, they were just made out of cardboard and they just knocked them over. Come on, and they do say that they were made out of wood and plaster, but these people fail to notice all the water pools and all the fountains.
Yep, the fountains.
Right, there is
Exactly.
plumbing. The plumbing under these cities is better than what we can do.
You don't
now.
just tack that together with cardboard
No.
and paper. That has to be
Exactly. And we're
fucking
talking
laid out.
fountains that are shooting 100 feet in the air, right? Where do you get that pressure from? So, sure, they may have built those buildings out of plasterboard and wood. Great. Who built the plumbing system? And this is what people do. They tend to hyper-focus. Oh, I can see something there. I'm going to prove that doesn't work. Well, great. What about the rest of the world? Oh, well, come on, dude. Don't ask hard questions. It's like, and it's all got to do with people trying to prove themselves right? No, I'm right. You're wrong. Look at this. Yes, plaster. Ha 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 ha. Oh, really, plaster? So there's a building in Melbourne still standing, right? 120 years later, but what? Made of plaster and wood. Yeah, come on.
It's
Funny
good
thing
plaster though.
It's good plaster, yeah. It's really good because it cures into red bricks over time.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just, the old world was just, it worked, right? It was done for the benefit of us, of the earth, of mankind. The earthship, analogy, everything was free so that we could just create. We could use our magic mind and create art and machines and all this kind of stuff without having to go to work and waste our time, empowering those who wish to rule us. So energy is a massive thing. Once we get over that, once people understand, I can just make free energy. Well, even if I'm in the desert, yeah, you can live anywhere. Oh, so I can just build a house and have free. Okay. So I don't need a job. I don't need to pay all this money for a house.
And the so-called, overpopulation, which we're not in. It's just like,
Right.
well, it's like, oh, I'm sick of the city. I'll just go and build out here, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
it. Like
no, you
well
really-
before
you-
flat Earth came along, that's what I was into.
Right.
Free energy.
You've really freaked my mind a bit with this pipe idea and energy, Lucas, because, dude, I can still remember when my grandmother got indoor plumbing. And I can still remember things like, I live in a house, dude, that's got fucking lead pipes still under it that just got replaced last year. People around me, I know their houses are above ground. I see their lead pipes. I mean, this is 2021, whatever. So, yeah, that idea is really intriguing, especially when you think about, is it China where they have that mountain that's just filled with pipes and they can't explain and they're ancient? And that's one of those like hidden archaeology things. Am I the only one that has heard of that? Maybe. But yeah.
No, I reckon I've heard of that. Like, they had iron pipes in sort
Pipes
of
all
rock.
through this fucking mountain. Yeah, and they couldn't figure out what the fuck it's there for. So, yeah, energy. Maybe the mountain was like the place it came from. Fuck, I don't know. You kind of broke my brain. My brain think, right, what is a mountain? An old castle, right?
Well,
no power plant, whatever.
Exactly.
The thing with that flow battery is you can nearly see it applied everywhere. Like, you could look at two different electrolytes, as in two different salt waters, one more in nitrate, and I've looked at this as the circulation of the oceans, basically. And then you have the same sort of principle applies with that flow battery as one's hot, one's cold, as sort of the picture showed. It was, one was red and one was blue. And so as soon as you have the differential, you've got a chain, things want to flow. And so, even with the world and the circulation of the currents, well, you have, the outer ring will be really cold, while you have the internal sort of bit where the tropics are, that'll be warmer waters. Then you're already starting to get a circulation happening. So, like you said, Campbell, things are fractal. Well, when you apply the battery principle or that Trinity principle, you can apply it everywhere, and you'll get a clear picture of how energy is moving through the system. And,
And I think
even if it's in a gas form, two electrolytes in a gas form, or you have a cathode and anode in a gas form, and that would be your sun and moon producing different products,
Yeah.
So, and that mercurial point, or the bridge between those two, is like one would be equivalent to the father, one would be equivalent to the mother, and then that point between the two is the child. It's not one of those, or it's the other version of
Yeah,
it, where they show in mythology
part of each. Yeah.
is the androgynous figure, where the this part mother, part father, and it's that joining bridge, and that's the figure in nearly all of the movies that you'll see is the hero figure, because they're the balance point. That's why heart and earth are a salt bridge, and it lines up, with the words and things like that. So anyway, I'm
Yeah.
rambling here.
No, I agree. The old world, as far as we can see, basically mimicked nature. They looked at what already was there and already worked, and they just mimicked it. And what we've got today is the complete opposite. It's like, how do we dominate nature? How do we destroy it, and dominate it and use it, for our own gains? But yeah, the old world would, like you said, the sun and the moon, right? And then they just turn that into, a machine or whatever, that they were just seeing what worked and replicating it, because everything's a fractal, right?
Yep. And the other thing, when you're thinking about these frequencies, like Walt was talking about the certain frequencies that come out of the TV, well, we don't know what these other frequencies and organic frequencies do to the body. Do they enhance all our chakra system, or you know, I don't see us as a singular sort of one, you know, we're this type of battery. No. We seem to be multiple batteries on top of batteries, just like the world is. It's using heat
Right.
differentials. It's using,
Mm.
a copper and a zinc type one. That would be equivalent to our immune system. And, like you would have fast batteries that have lower current, but they're quite fast, like ones for your drills, your lithium ions. But then you would have the other bigger cells, which are more like your lead acid. They hold a lot of currents, but they're like your
Right.
an equivalent to fast twitch and slow twitch muscles. You know what I mean? So there's
Wow,
something.
here's a musical analogy, dude. Stacking gain pedals. You know what I'm saying? If you don't stack gain pedals the right way, all you get is horrible noise. But if you have the amp tweaked right and put a certain gain pedal here, put another gain is like a distortion that gives it more crunch. If you put the right one here and the right one in front of it, then it sounds great and get all these harmonies. But if you put the wrong frequencies in front of each other, it goes into this whole like buzzsaw horrible sound, which some death metal guys want that, but I'm not looking for that when I stack pedals. So it's all about the frequencies. Fucking
and it's the frequency fields interacting. It's not, we think that it's something to do with wires. But these things are creating frequency fields, right? Electromagnetic fields, and it's those that are interacting. And so if you've got two fields and their midpoint of interaction is like a really bad frequency, then you get a bad sound out. And that's what it all is to do, right? It's getting harmonics, right, to make harmony from harmonics, right? So it's that's what you've just got to find that harmonious frequency, and that's what you work with. Clearly we're not getting that. Look what comes out of all the
what we're
TV
marinating in
stuff
around us. Dude, I got a phone here. I've got a sound device here. Here's a screen. There's a computer. Here's another device. There's a tablet. Yeah, that's just right. There's the freaking router that's sending the worst signal that's frying me from the inside out. But hey, it's fine.
And people have done the research on this too, with the trying to have plants next to the Wi-Fi system, and they all die. Or I remember there was a classic picture of a it was a 5G tower next to a tree, and half the tree was dead.
Half of it was dead. Yeah,
dude,
I
remember that one.
I put a video up on my channel somewhere of right out in front when they changed over to the smart meter on my house, which I bitched about outside. I sat there and bitched the whole time they did it. the plant that grew up in front of it got to the height of that meter and then started wilting. And as it got past it, it was just gnarly and blah. I'll find the video and show it to you guys. It's
Oh
crazy.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're trying to say that you have to have these smart meters now, but again, it's just all coercion and crap. They can't force you to do that, especially if you're making your own energy.
The other thing that I found really fascinating, speaking about these like analog sort of frequencies and things like that. Well, when you look at the zodiac, it is actually an analog frequency calculator. So you can position where each planet is and how it's interacting with something that's opposite or in a trine. And these are ways to see if there's what's it called, where there's destructive and constructive interference patterns occurring. So, that seems like a really organic, natural calculator of these frequencies that are happening above us.
Up there, the arc angles. So it's all electricity, right? It's got nothing to do with religion, whatever that's supposed to mean. It's all, and that's what, the glory of God, right? What's the glory of God? That's energy, right? Electricity. And you look at a church and you got the choirs and you got the bells and you got the singing, and it's all comes from harmonics. Even you go back to like Tibetan, throat singing and all this kind of stuff. And native tribes used to sing to heal people. It was all frequency, which is probably where it came from. And they'd just go, "That's a good frequency," and then they just work on that frequency. How do we make it bigger?
Being a cat owner, you know all about the healing frequency of the purr, and that's not just what it does for us, dude. It's actually what they're internally doing for themselves. I've been reading up a lot on cats lately, being full cat daddy again. But yeah,
you must have that parrot. Isn't there a parasite that people get that makes them like cats? You're infected, Walt.
I have. Yep, it's fine.
Has anyone ever had one of those sound baths before?
No.
Like an ultrasonic bath?
No, it's sort of like a bit of a hippy dippy thing to do, but there's they basically get a bunch of singing bowls and get you all relaxed and just get these singing bowls going for like they'll have big ones and things like that. Yeah, I went to one. It was grouse.
I mean, I've had friends who've had those, and we've sat around with them, that kind of thing. But I never thought about it as a sound bath. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what they're called, sound baths, and you basically get different singing bowls, and they can get it resonating. Yeah,
entrainment, right? So they get a resonant frequency, and your body will just naturally match that frequency. And that's how they used to do things. That's how they used to heal people and stuff. Because all illness, right? It's just you're just out of sync. Your frequency's off, so you just get it back into sync, and it heals itself. I actually don't know.
Hey, what do you think of those bells? A lot of these big bells that are around and things like that. We had Martin on the other week, and he said that there's maybe a correlation between this rainbow that showed up when a bell went off, and it was upside down. The rainbow was actually inverted. So what's your take on some of these bells?
Bells were huge because we know that they were huge because they went and took them all out. In all churches had bells. I remember when I was little, there were so many nursery rhymes talking about bells. There was always bells, and now you don't have any. Most kids wouldn't even know that bells used to be in churches. But in World War II, they literally went in and they just took them out of all the churches. There's pictures of fields full of these bells. They didn't do anything with. They probably melted them down and turned them into weapons. But these bells also were made of it. They had a certain kind of brass in them that we can't make. They don't know really what it was. They're like, oh. So there's that, which is to do with frequency, right? That they're making it the right material to give off the right frequency.
Dude, I just watched this guy. He's a guitarist named Rob Scallon. Does crazy, amazing guitar videos, and he does all these weird challenges, and he looks at all these crazy instruments that aren't guitars. And one of the ones he looked at was a clarion, which is this building filled with fucking bells that somebody plays like an organ with their fists. I've never seen anything like it. There's apparently one that-
Carillion.
Is that what it's called?
Carillion,
Maybe I said it wrong. Maybe that's what it is. So yeah, it was nuts. And the fact that Rockefeller had special bells made and shipped over here at certain frequencies and put in this one that this guy's at, and that they have certain names of his like wife and people own the bell and just all this shit. It was pretty nuts. I'll put the link for you guys to check out. I don't want to get it straight.
And then there's the old like I think they call one of them the Liberty Bell and a few other bells. There's some huge bells out there. I got a picture of one that's I don't even know how big it is, like 30 foot tall or something. It's just ridiculous. You wonder how they could even hang these things and were they even for hanging. But
Yeah,
they
or let
definitely
alone cast it.
Yeah, cast it. Yeah, exactly. And then there's of course they look like domes. They shape the bell shape, bell curves, and stupers, right? Stupers look like bells. So it's definitely something to do with the shape and the frequency and the harmonics that are given out. So you know, so the concept we have of cathedrals, you know, that they're energy healing machines, we think, right? Because they have the organs, right? And of course, we've got organs in ourselves. They give you the frequency. They go up to these fractal stained glass windows. You know, have the bells on the floor. You always have the fractal patterns, certain grids, even like literally things that look like circuit boards. Those electronic antennas, all this stuff in cathedrals, right? And so it's all about making a frequency that they're then putting out to the ether, right? To the world to change the frequency. So if that's what they were doing, then of course, what it's not much of a jump to say that if you ring a bell, you affect the ether and you know affect the rainbow, because that's literally what we think they were all made for, to affect the ether energy frequency.
Yeah, well, you're agitating, aren't you? You're going ding, and you're sending out a big.
It's like water,
you know,
right? Look at water. You can actually see the waves.
It's interesting. I remember a little while ago, but there was a guy showing a video, and he basically was showing this old world fountain and how it was built, and on it was some markings and stuff. But what really intrigued me was like, well, they had the planetary symbols on this fountain, and it was like it was part of the architecture of how you would actually draw it, you know. And it's like, okay, well, what are these? You know, this is not just, you know, it doesn't seem confined back then to just, you know, astrology or but are you applying and as you know, there's a correlation with metals and the planets. You know, are you applying different metals, or you know, are these designations for how to apply certain energies to something? I don't, you know, you sort of get where I'm going.
Yeah. It was, everything was integrated. Everything was integrated. Everything had a purpose. Like, you know, because we look at these cities and we go, it's a city. They were probably looking at it and going, it's a machine, you know, cooling vents, you know, generators, spark gas.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and we're going, oh, church, library, you know. So it's the macro, right? The macro. Now, of course, they want us focusing on the micro. And you've got to make things smaller. That makes them better. But obviously that also changes our vision from seeing these cities that we live in as actual machines, because it's like, what? No, that's way too big to be a machine. You know, I think, you know, technology is small. So yeah, it's but I mean, we're starting to piece it all back together. We're getting there.
The other thing, like with those things, that seem like they'll be easier to work with as well. Like everything we get, and you know, I was thinking about this the other day. Like it's highly technical, but no one can fix it.
No.
No one can actually. It's not usable for the general person, Um, and
No.
it just annoys me. You get this trashy bit of plastic, and it's wrapped up with this high tech stuff inside it, and you're just like, well, all right, I got to throw it out if it
Yeah.
fucks up. And, just give me something older that's got parts, like the old Datsun. You go and get a piece out of your toaster, and you get your car back working.
Yeah. But everyone could
Uh,
fix their own old cars as well. They just do it themselves.
yeah,
You know,
people were hot
you open up
rodding
a
them and
bonnet of
stuff like
something
that.
today, you can hardly get your hand in there. It's just like too much crap.
Yeah, I remember my old Datsun. Open the bonnet up. There's the engine.
Yeah,
Carburetor.
That was it.
Right.
That was
There
it.
it is.
It's like,
Carburetor. That's awesome.
and then there was this
Go.
space all the way around it.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, I
like,
know where you
okay,
actually get in there.
yeah. And then you open up a modern car, it's like, could they fucking fill it up anymore?
But literally, mechanics now, if you go and look in, like a dealership like, Volvo or BMW or Porsche, these dudes walk around with computers. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have toolboxes anymore. They just walk up and they just connect up their computer, do a little diagnostic, hit a few buttons and go, yep, it's serviced, it's tuned. It's like, what?
But it doesn't allow, I was listening to George Wiseman and how he manipulated the carburetor and basically got, huge mileage out of it and things. It doesn't allow you to go in there because, the information today, if we had carburetors and you go on the line and someone's doing this and they go, $30 job, and I've basically halved my fuel consumption.
Exactly. And this is the other thing they do is warranties, right? Don't want to void your warranty if you don't bring it back to us and let us do it. Oh, you'll void your warranty. Don't lift that bonnet. You'll void your warranty. Not allowed to know what's going on. So it's just like they keep us stupid. They keep us ignorant of what we've got all these things that we think make us smart and intelligent and good looking and cool. I've got the BMW. Yeah, but when it breaks down on the side of the road and you're standing there like an idiot, you're not looking too cool.
And then when you go to buy the part and your wallet's empty, but you still got a BMW for a fucking blinker,
just a door handle.
Exactly.
It's and the planned obsolescence obviously is in there too. I mean, look at old cars, right? Literally, you get an old 1960s Ford, and you could have a crash, and you're like, oh, I think I dented the car. Like today you have a crash and it's like, where's the car? There's no car left.
Well, that's right. I was talking with Zach about this, and I think Benjamin brought it up on Benjamin Bolton's stream, but it was basically talking about prohibition, and the reason that they did that was because the old model Ford T model or whatever it was ran on hemp oil and hemp alcohol. That basically cars were running on alcohol, so everyone could start to just produce their own fuel.
Oh, so that's the whole moonshine thing, is it?
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. The oil companies didn't like. There's a huge thing about hemp and how much that could basically free us from the paper industry to the fuel to the building to the everything. Industries would be affected by the legalization of growing hemp in a large way.
Decriminalization. Let's go that way.
It was the first industry to billion-dollar industry, as far as I know.
Wasn't it all canvas was made from hemp, and so World War One, I think all the uniforms, like pretty much everything, was made from hemp. And then there's that clip of they made the car with the hemp fiberglass body, and they're smashing it with sledgehammers. And it's just
that was the Ford. That was the Ford car. So it was basically built from hemp, and it could run on alcohol.
Run on hemp. Yeah, or alcohol.
Run on hemp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and exactly. So, how many of those have we seen on the street, right?
Yeah, I know.
You've got to search to find the video of the one they built.
Yeah. You got a small, plot out the backyard. You grow a heap of hemp for a year, and then you got a fuel supply for the next whatever.
Same as diesel, right? Diesel was invented by a guy who was a farmer, and he invented a fuel that could be made from all their waste, all the stalks from the corn and all this. And that's how they were making diesel, literally, so that people, farmers could run their tractors and all their machinery off free fuel. And then, the petroleum industry come along and literally they just go diesel. Oh, we better pour some chemicals in there. Oh, and then they say, and then 20 years later, everyone believes that if you don't use the diesel with chemicals, it'll kill your engine. I'm like, this is how they change things, right? It was made as a free fuel to help everyone, and they just go, no, you can't have that. I don't think so.
I still remember my rig foreman going out to the almost like the waste diesel fuel tank and getting stuff for his car. He had what's the German car that was diesel that everybody was driving in the late 80s? Anyway, but he was pouring stuff like it was gunk into his engine and saying, yeah, it's all good because blah, blah, blah. All this same thing, basically, that it runs. You don't have to have all those additives and all that crap. It makes it run worse to have all that stuff. And sure enough, everybody else that was just running diesel in their trucks and all that off the pumps at the gas station started having problems, and his old junker was going to town. So, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, that's what the biodiesel is. You get the leftovers from the fish and chip shops and things like that, and then just run your car off that. I mean, everyone thinks you go past them in your car and everyone smells fish and chips. But
it smells like that. Yeah, there was a bus that did it across the USA a few years ago, and they literally drove, and every time they saw like a fish and chip shop or some kind of fry up, they'd stop and say, "Can we have your oil?" And they got
I remember that.
Got all the way across.
Had a flock of seagulls follow them the whole
yeah,
time.
exactly right. But it smells better than the other stuff that comes out of cars, doesn't it?
Yeah, whenever I think of that, like the diesel and the amount of trucks that go past in the cities, it's just like how much of that diesel is just going on the top of their roof. Then it rains, and then it just goes straight into their tanks or whatever. I'm just like, you're basically drinking, burnt diesel particulates.
I mean, you can see the old buildings, but they just go black these days in the city, right? Like you look at photos from the 1700s, and there's these old buildings, and they look fine. There's none of this black, this blackness we get on all the buildings today. You look at ones today, and they're just covered in basically exhaust, I think is what it is. Just all the crap coming out of the cars. And so if that's doing that to what's it doing to our lungs? And
whatever else,
whatever else.
It's a funny old position we've put ourselves in, isn't it?
Yeah, and we have put ourselves here. That's the other thing, If you're going to yell at someone, go find a mirror. No, we unfortunately.
Yeah, and they've told us the whole time what they were doing, too.
Exactly. Yep, they have. They have.
So, where is the meetup going to be next week, Cam?
Meetup is in King's Park. Going to go worship the King. King's Park in Perth, overlooking the city. We've got a massive park in Perth, which, by the way, is full of obelisks and sunken walls and strange pyramids, and there was a star fort just down the hill, but they knocked that over to put a freeway through. So we're going to be up there. Anyone in Perth, come along. I've put the flyer up on my Telegram, on YouTube, probably Facebook, but it's out there. So come along, guys. And if you're not in Perth, start making groups and hooking up, in person. I know Kelly's got a Facebook page, Australia Tartaria, and she's keen to get a Melbourne or Victoria meetup going. So wherever you are, guys, it's time to, let's get meetups going and get there in person. Like I said, in December, we're going to head out to the desert, have our own Burning Man, I think, something like that out there. So
Awesome.
That's coming up. So, let's, basically, this only lasts, guys. This only lasts, this whole crap, as long as we put up with it. So if they say you can't leave your house and everyone goes, okay, well, guess what? We're all stuck in our houses. If we all go, yeah, nah, and we all go into the desert or wherever we want to go and do what we want, then it changes. We know,
Yeah.
right? They can't stop us. There's too many of us. Too many of us. So let's get over this, guys. If you're over it, then just get over it and start acting. Get together, get groups, make Telegram groups, make, whatever.
You can do it. It's easy. I mean, we have
it's not
an
hard.
app out there that gets you connected to
Flat
people.
Earth. Yep.
Yep. Interestingly enough, years ago, my sister-in-law and I used to do this little local show in Lafayette on cable access called Reality Check. I've got a few videos here on our channel, on my channel. And we did basically if flat earth had been a thing then we'd have covered it. Anything out of the norm, we were on it. So she's always had that bent. And of course, as I've been exploring over these last 6-8 years, she's definitely been keeping up with it and keeping her ear to the ground and stuff. Sorry, the cat muted me. She's very intrigued by this mud flood. And so now that they're through doing, her and her husband used to do this huge yearly convention called MechaCon Anime. And so now that that's been just done, they last year was their last one. She's wanting to put her efforts into a convention aimed at what we used to cover. And she said, I know you'll want to do a flat earth one. And I'm like, yeah, I probably will, but it probably won't just be a flat earth topic. It'll probably be covering all of what's been going on since I've discovered it, especially mud flood, dude. That's been the brain breaker, So yeah, I'm excited to dig deeper, get in touch with somebody like you that's got a whole lot more resources that can help me point my way through this whole thing, because I definitely have been so spread on it that I need to focus. There's so much to cover. You can't cover it all, in a short presentation. You'd have to have some kind of focus. Anyway, but that's just, she's saying probably next year that's something she wants to focus on. Hopefully some of the madness will have died down and conventions will be easily done. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm excited that she's even intrigued by it.
Well, Martin's pulled it off. And the other thing is, it doesn't have to be in a hall, right? It doesn't have to.
Just get some friends to come to your house.
Just go to the forest, right? Get everyone to bring a tent, bring your
Right.
van, whatever, hang out in the bush for 3 days and have some people talking. Because it's all about community, right? It's just building community, getting around like-minded people, understanding you're not the crazy one. It's actually everyone else, you are sane. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a big event. I mean, Martin did really well, he had bloody discos and bars and everything. But if you know a block of land and and you can get some people and say, hey, let's go hang out for the night or the weekend. Well, that's awesome. Do that. Start somewhere. Just to
How
start.
many times have people called us, text us? Mentioned it in the chat, called us on our different shows and said, hey man, we know a venue down the road, down the street. We know a church, we know whatever. It's not that hard. It's really easy to do.
And the other thing is intention, guys. Just put it out there. Like seriously, this is what I do now. I'm over the 3D world. It's just too slow. Just put out your intention. This is what I want to do. See it in your head. Believe that it's already happened.
It's done.
And
Exactly.
people
That it's done. Yeah.
People will literally call you up out of the blue and say, hey, I've got a farm. Do you want to come down? Like the weirdest stuff happens, guys. You don't have to go and, go on a Google Earth and find a campsite. Just put it out there. Because that's what we're doing for December. We don't know where we're going, but we know we're going. December 21st, it's something's going to happen. And we're putting it out there, and we're going to see what happens. Because this is how we get to the new earth, guys.
Yep.
Right? We start using our creativity. We start living with, the creator, the creative force, and not having to know everything, not having to have everything planned out. Because I was listening to someone, Mark Atwood, this guy, and he's like, if you're always on time, the Archons know where you are. So always be late or be early,
That explains it. That explains it. Thank you, Cam. You've helped save my whole life. Every time I'm late, it's always me. Thank you.
I knew a dude like that. He was like, you'd invite him somewhere. He was probably an hour to an hour and a half late every
No,
time.
not that
he
bad.
showed,
It's at least 15 minutes, though.
But
At least 15.
you sort of had to
I'm
tell
like,
him,
I was dodging the archives. That's what I'll start saying. And people will just go, okay, well, what the fuck ever.
Sorry, I was battling dark forces.
That's it.
Yeah.
I like being on time myself, or 15 mintle early to something.
Oh,
yeah.
So they probably know what I'm doing. when I'm doing it.
They're
Early
waiting
is
for
good.
you, right?
Just got to get off the schedule, right? They want you on that schedule, right? Oh, what time can I have lunch? What time can I go to the toilet? You know?
Yeah, ring the bell like in school, and yeah, there's your
Yeah, Pavlov's dogs, you know?
yeah.
So, excuse me.
Absolutely.
Well, I reckon we could call it. Tis about
Man,
8
we
o'clock.
could, but damn, I like hanging out with you, Cam, brother. It's
No, no.
always, it is, dude. It's so easy going and laid back, just like you're another part of the friend group here, the family,
Thank
team,
you. It's
whatever the
definitely
fuck you want to call it, man. I love when you're here. Next damn time, though,
fun. We'll have to actually
I
get on
want
to
you here.
some
We're
photos.
we're gonna get you here at the right time, and we're gonna
the
send
right
you the
time is-
right
Dude,
the
the
invitation.
Archons are chasing me.
Right, exactly. Well, if it wasn't for the kitties sending out the. Speaking of, thank you, Liz. I saw your super chat for the cat. Yes, thank you so much. But yeah, if it wasn't for the alarm being clarion there, you definitely would have had a rough time. The same thing again. Next time, we'll get it on time.
We'll get it on time. Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, if you
No,
get
you'll meet back.
if you get some time, maybe after the meetup that you have some great footage you want to put together, or just come hang out again. Hell, I don't care if you want to come back next week, dude. You certainly can. As far as that goes, you may have somebody. I'm being silly. I don't want to step on guests that may be playing.
If you
But
book me next
definitely-
week, yeah, they're out, mate. You're out.
Yeah,
now.
we definitely
He's going
wanna
to his own Tatarian Burning Man. So
Right,
he's
right.
busy.
I'm gonna be on
Right.
every single show.
But that's awesome, brother. Definitely, you're welcome. You know the door never closes, and you are definitely family now. So certainly, I want to see what happens with the event. Definitely, if you can live stream
Definitely,
some
yeah.
of it, I'll be in the chat. If you can't, then come tell us about it after the fact. Would be great.
Definitely. Yep. We'll definitely do that. Get some footage, and yeah, I'd love to come back if you'll have me. So
Anytime, man. Just we'll have to get the right time. The right time.
A lot of fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, Cam.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone in chat. Haven't had a big look at you today, but thanks for all being
Man,
here.
they're always so busy, and they keep me sidetracked. And I was trying my best to keep up with it, and I didn't do well at all. I was so into what we were doing here. So, and then I have the catalanch here every 5 minutes, so that's hard to keep going.
It's a
Thank you all in
catastrophe.
chat. It is definitely. It's just love. They're bringing full of love and purrs. So, but man, y'all, thank y'all in chat. I can't even tell you how much I love y'all and appreciate all y'all do. I saw a few new faces. I may be wrong. Name or three that I didn't recognize. Thank you for being here. I saw a whole lot of folks I do know and love and can't appreciate enough. So thank you all for being here.
Yes, thank you all. All
Now,
righty.
oops, I want to ask Campbell something before we go, because maybe on the next time on we can. We started there, but we didn't come back to it, and I was kind of waiting. Atlantis. I know we started the show with Atlantis, but you went in a totally different direction, and I was listening to where you were going on it. A direction I have gone on Atlantis, and I'm wondering if you've ever gone here, is the myth of Atlas. Have you looked into the story of Atlas, and you know how they show him holding
the earth, and he's actually holding up the
edge of the sky at the westernmost tip. The story never went. People were lied to it. He was never ever holding up the world. What happened is in the world of the War of the Titans, they broke the sky. Rah, rah, rah. They broke the sky.
Sorry.
Sorry, you're playing with the dog, Zach.
I was giving him a treat real quick.
It's pepperoni time. I know that sound.
It sounded like you were eating this treat.
But yeah, in the if you go into mythology, the story of Atlas, we've been pretty much lied to or about it, or it's changed over. It was never holding up the world. It was holding up after the War of Titans. He was on the losing side, and his punishment was to hold up the westernmost edge of the sky where the sky was broken, because it got broke during the War of the Titans. Now, the place he held it up was the westernmost edge of the world on Atlas Island that became Atlantis. That's where the terminology, and then what happened from there is the pillars, and my mind is gone now, but the pillars, who made the pillars? Hercules, thank you. Okay, the pillars of Hercules felt sorry for him and made pillars, and there's some back and forth story on here, but the main thing is he put the pillars into take the place of Atlas holding it up so Atlas could be free. And then after that was when he left and went back to Africa and got turned into stone and became the head of the Atlas Mountains. So you have a lot of tortilla there, but that was a
Wow.
really, when I actually read the history of Atlas Island, the physical place it was supposed to be, and with the War of the Titans and that, it really took me down a huge study on it, because I at this point think that it's not mythology. I think it's a true story. And I think Atlantis would be on like maps that I'm looking at where we're missing a pole off of the map magnetically, where it would have to be, would be what we would call opposite the easternmost point, which would be the pole south of Australia. But there would be a point of area off of the map, a huge area that magnetically, when you put the map together magnetically, and I'd love to do that with you, there is a place that land has to be that's missing, and it shows exactly where it would be if you follow the magnetics of the realm, and it would come at what you would call the westernmost tip. And I believe that we have to have land there in order to make our magnetics work. Otherwise, I can show you a pattern really quick and show you how it could never come together without.
Westernmost tip north.
Do you want me to show you really quick, or should we end this down and do another? Josh,
we might
I know it was a tangent. I was hoping we would go
well,
to.
it's like 8 o'clock now, and you come and you drop that on us. So
I know.
The very
so
least we can do is tease it a little, and we can plan for some point down the road. But yeah, totally.
Maybe we can have Cam back.
I would
absolutely have to let us go.
Interestingly enough, I was dropping links in the chat. The book you shared with us that you mentioned, the Linda, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong.
Linda.
And then I went ahead and since I talked about American gods there, I dropped it for everybody in the chat as well, and it's in our chat. And then when we got to talking about the gods, I was going to mention it. We got sidetracked, but then you talking about Atlas reminded me again of the book I've been reading for some time now, The Secret History of the World, Jonathan Black. Definitely check the book out. Linked up. You can find it on different places that you can get books, but check it out. Definitely got a lot of information on the gods, the tie-in to all the alchemy stuff that we always talk about with Lucas and Zach here. It's a great book. It's definitely a source to check out if you never checked it out.
And of course, I just thought of Atlas Shrugged, right?
Right.
There's a whole. This is a whole. You're right. It's not fair to drop this bomb in it.
Yeah, you've opened up a whole new can of worms at 8 o'clock.
But what we did do is open up
3 hours.
something that maybe Campbell can come back on and discuss, because this is really, and I'd love to show you the magnetics and the physical stuff that goes with the legends and with the myths and that seem to match up, because I think you'd have a lot of information you could feed me. I'm reading it through the historical text and the literature, which is sometimes tough reading, or not tough reading, but different reading. It's not like when you pick up a novel, and for me, when I read, I don't read words.
Fun.
A story appears, and this you actually have to read the words and think about it and make the story instead of it. But I would love to have your take on it. And by the way, Cam, it's nice to meet you. I'm Cammy.
Oh, you weren't here last time. I'm so sorry we didn't introduce you guys, man. Cam, meet Cam. Cam.
Hey,
hi, Cam. Hi, Cam.
Hey, Cam.
Right. So sorry.
We need a can.
Right. Right.
And we can do the can.
Right.
Yes, we can.
So
I'll get into that. I'll do some looking into it because I've got lots of bits. I won't say anything now. We'll still be here in an hour, but sounds good.
That's what we can do.
By the way, I think Lucas invited you, or who invited you today?
Lucas, yes.
Lucas has got my Skype information that if you have any questions or want any magnetic worker stuff on that's more, I think I can, with the myths, you can look it up too as well as I can, but I'd love to give you because I'm trying to match reality with the myths, and I'd like to show you some of the science and some of the electric fields and different things that go on, and how, again, there's a piece of land that has to be missing in order for this realm to work. In other words, in order for it to...
Definitely. I'd really like to look at that. So if you want to shoot me
I'll pass that.
Lucas.
I'll pass that on, mate.
That'd be awesome. And
I can show you too how we've recreated, like with 2 pillars or 2 magnet pillars, we've recreated a counterpole in the center magnetically, which mimics exactly our tides in our field on the Earth. I mean, stuff that's going to match up, but the piece I'm missing would be what would be probably Atlas or Atlantis. And again, without landmass to carry the magnetics there, it doesn't work. It would have, in other words, you for reality to work, it's necessary, and yet and the myths line up with it. So
you can logically deduce that there's one elsewhere.
Well, red and blue come together. They come together magnetically on the thing. They don't just wander off and go away. It's fields. I mean, I can show you how it works, and I can show you in a paracel. Nobody can make a paracel, and nobody can look at the patterns or make a drop iron filings and things on it and not have a field continue and come together. It doesn't. It completes this, it completes itself. It's self-completing, magnetically. So
awesome.
And if you're so inclined, we can throw you in the Ironworks phone call there on Skype as well. So if you're ever up in the evening on a Tuesday evening or a Friday evening, you could hop in there with us as well.
We see you there in chat quite often when we're on live. We appreciate the hell out of it. So thank you for hanging out with us.
And with that, I think that shall do it.
Keep going. Cool.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Love y'all.
Have an amazing day.
You do the same. Thanks for sorry for the little goof up earlier with the timing and all that good stuff. I think we will have it worked out one way or the
other. My fault.
No, totally ours. Totally ours. So what time should we wake you up? No, I'm just kidding. But really, we want to make sure we get the time right.
Yeah.
So
you tell your cats to send the cat signal to my cat around 6 a.m. I think. Yeah.
6 a.m. for you. Okay, you got it, brother. It will be 6 a.m. going forward. You heard that, right? You got that?
And cats tell time.
Same cat station.
All right. Can I just ask for that super powerful, positive vibes that I know that we tend to produce here around this show and in the audience and there in the chat, because we've seen it happen live.
Yep.
Just if you wouldn't mind just shooting some of that Dixie's way for me. Just a real big shot of just general good vibes, I think would do her a whole lot of good, and I would really appreciate it.
Yep. Got it, Brad.
I've met Dixie. I can't think of a better, more wonderful person to send these vibes towards. Here's to you, Dixie. We love you.
We love you, lady. We miss you, and we damn sure send you the biggest hug you've ever had. So
100%.
And my girls downstairs are looking just beautiful. Just gorgeous.
They get a hug too.
Oh.
All you sexy ladies get hugs.
Give them a high five from me.
Oh, I will. The node stacking they've got going on down there is unreal. I couldn't hardly believe it. Just the way that new growth is just pumping them out. I thought they were tight when it started off, but man, it's a freaking jungle. I've got it. It's insane.
My PO box is in my description.
Yeah, good on you, Cam.
Oh, look, don't ever underestimate my ability to fuck shit up, because I'm still liable to screw it all up before I can make it useful. So, yeah, this has been a blast. Thank you so much, Cam. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
You know what? Since I made you do the intro, I'm going to make you do the. Why don't you remind everybody, if we've told them already, because I don't know, maybe we have, who we've got coming up next week, Lucas, because that was all you're doing as well. Because this is what I'm really excited about. I think this is going to be really, really good.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully we're going to get Marty Leeds on for next week, and it's going to be fun. We're going to go through, the English language, how it applies to the sevenfold cipher, and man, that dude has some really good.
He's the guy who gave
knowledge.
The decipher for that thing, is he? He's like a cipher man.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's got it's a singular cipher for the English language.
You got the link,
It's-
Josh? I don't have it handy, man.
and it's based on 7, and it walks its way up to 7 and then walks back down. And within that cipher itself, it's got cubic numbers. It relates to so much and joins to everything so much. It's quite amazing. It brings a lot of things together. So anyway, I'll talk to you about this offline at some stage.
And you've got the link. Hell, sneak in here and you can hop in and get the gist. Get it straight from
hell yeah,
the leads'
straight up,
mouth.
man. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's great.
And then I'm also going to drop a link. I dropped one earlier of the guest we're going to have week after next. Look at us go, planning ahead on the 22nd. I think this is going to be a pretty interesting one too. This is John Reed, and he's an author. He wrote a book, Your Science Teacher is Wrong.
Oh, nice.
And it's really going to kind of get into some really interesting stuff. I can read the Amazon description, or you can click the link and read it yourself. And look, $8 for the Kindle version. I don't see it's in a paperback anywhere that I'm aware of, but I bought a copy. It's worth it. And he will be visiting us right here on Have No Sphere Friday after next, the 22nd, I believe is the name of that.
Yeah, I think that's what you're telling me.
I think that's
22nd.
Well, Cam, that means that me and you are going to have to meet off to the side separately, because I do not have the type of patience to wait 3 weeks to pick your brain.
Well, if that happens, then, and I want to hear that. I want to be a fly on the wall at least. I don't know how
We could do a
to
recording
do
and
some of
yeah.
that, right?
Oh yeah. There's no way. I want to wait for this one. Would love to if you wanted to go down that. Because I'd like to see what I have a feeling I have something to learn from you. And anytime I get that feeling from somebody, it tends to like a little bell ring, and it just feels right.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You start getting those little truth bumps.
Yep.
All right, let's get the hell out of here. I got
All right,
a little bit of a
we'll
rumbling
be
in my
another
tongue.
hour. Right. Love you guys. Thank you all so much.
Stay awesome.
Where is it? Nope.
Peace out, everyone.
Oh, there it is. That's what I was looking for. Thanks, guys. Love you. We'll see you right back here next Friday. In the meanwhile, have a great rest of your weekend and a great rest of your week. Be good. Be well. We love you. Bye-bye.
Be awesome.
So cool. By the way, are we off?
No.
Yeah. Tell me we're off.